Sorry to keep people waiting for a moment. We were exploring water projects. So anyways, welcome to day 2. Welcome, Doug, to day 2 of our special council meeting, budget meetings for today, May 9th. And we will begin with the building department.
Hey, Drew.
Go. And go.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate that. Building department has done quite a bit again this year. We continue to create and revise our many different checklists to help customers through the permit application process. We've updated our permitting and inspection tracking software with automated inspection scheduling and electronic results as well. We've updated our website. Go ahead.
But this is
Turn
the
it
first.
back on.
No, this is the first time I've seen you without a hat.
I'm trying to show some respect.
I appreciate it.
Okay,
but,
thank you. All right.
It's just
Good
different.
observant.
If only it
You
was
good?
returned.
It's just different. No, sorry.
Good?
Yeah.
You're not bitter because of last night, are you?
No,
All right.
that was predictable.
All right. Fair enough. Can I keep going now?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We've updated our website to make sure information is more readily available, organized our filing system to be able to provide quicker access, improved coordinating efforts with our city departments and local service providers to better address project concerns, put together information on important changes, including the energy code, state amendments, and code provisions. We continue to remain quite busy on the building side. On our commercial buildings, we've got the Marriott Hotel, Decor Works going up, Founders Hall, the soon-to-be completed Temple, Ross, Deseret Industries, Beehive and Stonehenge Care Facilities, IFA, and Velocity's new business and residential complex going in at 200 North and 600 West, as well as many more tenant improvements, industrial shops, and additions as well. Residential building remains quite brisk with subdivisions, apartments, townhomes, 1 and 2 family dwellings, solar, as well as many additions and conversions as well. I'm optimistic about continued growth, though, Jason, you've got that crystal ball, correct? As far as you got that covered? Okay. And with that growth does come some challenges. The biggest challenge I see, and in regards to your comment, Paul, about a hat and the many different hats and the way we have to wear them, the biggest challenge I see right now is the different aspects between building administration and the planning and zoning administration. For example, I talked about Decor Works at Coal Creek in Maine there, and what I'll refer to as vertical construction. Right now, what we're seeing is the structural steel going up. And as we speak about that, that's our forte, so to speak. That's what we do. We're certified inspectors. That's what we review. But also we get the constant barrage of zoning administration as well. And that gets set our way. And quite often, as was in the case again yesterday, I get inquiries like the following, which says, I'm interested in a lot in the Fiddlers area and have a few questions for you. Right now it's zoned R22. I'm a little confused what that means. I think it's a residential and a duplex. Would that mean I could construct one duplex on the property, or could I build multiple duplexes? Would I have to subdivide the property in order to build multiple duplexes on it? If so, what is the process and approximate cost to subdivide the land? Also, could the zoning be changed to R3? You still with me? Yeah, I would like to build 8 to 16 total units. What is the process and approximate cost to get the property rezoned? Also, are there any allowable uses in the R3 zone if I go that route? Are there any other constraints I need to consider? Flood zones, etc. please let me know as soon as possible so I can move forward.
Drew, they're just trying to be efficient and not overwhelm you with emails.
Thank you.
Okay,
There.
yeah, that didn't help?
Thank you.
Okay.
That was an email, by the way, yes. So in my mind, the biggest challenge that I see is that what needs to happen and what I'm looking forward to is the same thing that jurisdictions of our size and dynamics are going to, which is to separate the building department with a planning and zoning department. We've done a little research here on Utah demographics, and just for an example, Washington City, 24,000 people, planning and zoning administrator, yes, they have that, as well as their building department, totally separated. Eagle Mountain, 27,000 people, yes, planning and zoning, separate from building. Syracuse, 27,000, yes. American Fork, 28,000, yes. Cedar City, 30,000, no. We combine that. Kaysville, 30,000, yes. Harriman, 31,000, yes. Springville, 32,000, yes. So all those entities are separating building with planning and zoning. That's what I'd like to see happen. I'm open for questions.
How many of the questions that were asked in that email are actually, could you refer them to the internet or our website and have them answered if they look?
Yeah, great question. And Councilman, that's exactly what we do to start. You could get that information, but you'd have to be very assertive to do that. More often than not, I'll start that direction and then I get the call back or the email or the walk-in that says, you know, I started to go through that, but, and then they go right back to it again.
I suppose you could say it's sort of a perseverance test, because this is the easiest part of subdividing you're ever going to run across. You might ought to see if you can manage that before you can manage anything else.
It's a great point. And then sometimes people also get frustrated, you know, aren't you here to help me through that process? And so you try to politely steer them in that direction.
Yeah.
You even encourage at times a design professional, but boy, they push back. You know, they say, come on, aren't you a public servant? Isn't that what you're here to do?
Do you think we could have a planning person work part-time, hire a part-time person that would be available like from 8 to noon every day and be able to cover the planning part of that?
Yeah, I haven't.
Step.
Good question. I haven't seen that done in other jurisdictions, but hey, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. You know, I'd take whatever we could get in that regard to at least let us focus on what I feel is a needed effort.
Now, correct me if I'm
Please.
wrong, but at the height of the building cycle, before 2008, 2009, there were 4 of you in the department. Is that right?
So help me out with this one, Paul. I'm going to go with, well, it was combined. So please.
So at the height of our building boom, Drew, what is now Drew's division looked a lot different. It was split off from engineering. It had its own department head, and he was the planner. And then they had 4 inspectors. They had a receptionist. And so we staffed up, and there was that building boom that hit, and we tried to meet that demand. But the unfortunate part is, as soon as that took a nosedive and our building permits dropped about $1 million in a year, that's the first department that we laid 5 people off from.
Yeah.
So,
and the reason I asked that question is I'm not, you have to tell me whether you have enough manpower to do all that you're being called upon to do right now. But I know in other jurisdictions, they are outsourcing inspection help so that if there's a downturn, they don't have to lay people off, and it's done on a contract basis. Have there been any thought given to doing something like that to reduce the load?
Well, we're doing that with Larry, aren't we? Is Larry helping us?
We're not right now as far as plan review, Councilman, but to answer your question, we have seen that done on the building side to try to see that cyclical coverage, so to speak. I haven't seen it done on the planning and zoning side, because what oftentimes happens there is that if you outsource to one of these companies, they'd have to be well versed in each individual jurisdiction's zoning ordinance. Make sense? Yeah, good
There wasn't
question.
two
Thank
separate
you.
issues.
There was a time not too long ago where we split time with the county. We shared a planner with the county. That was probably 15 years ago.
I'm just, and I didn't mean to get off track with planning versus the inspections, but I just know that as we ratchet up, there's going to be a need for.
And something else comes to mind, if I may. When you say planning, that's what's a little bit tough about this, and that's where, unless you're up there on a daily basis, sometimes you don't quite get it. Planning could also mean something like master land planning. So that would be like the general plan that's now in place. It's not so much the planning that I see as a huge issue. It's that zoning administration, that zoning ordinance, because that can be anywhere from signs, business licenses. You've seen the book. We deal with this at Planning Commission. That's what we do. So thank you.
Maybe that might be a good first step, is to team with the county again if we decide to go that route.
I don't know if there's still, I don't know if that option's there. I just bring that up as another way to staff.
Maybe something we could explore.
We could talk to
My
the county.
sense from being at the Iron County Home Builders Association government partners committee meeting, I think they're as jammed as we are. And I think they might be amenable to
The county?
the county.
I will
Not
tell
that
you,
we've ever seen the county be amenable to anything.
this was one of
I
the happy
misspoke.
days. I went to a meeting with the leadership of the home builders, and they told me repeatedly, I actually asked them if I could record it, how much easier and more efficient our building department was from the county. I was like, can I record this?
I like that.
It was
Where's the newspaper when you need them?
truly.
Well,
So this is one where, depending on how it would be structured, it would have to run through our normal thing. This could even be something we have talked about with Drew, was another part-time admin-ish type person to help, so that instead of just making one person full-time and getting 10 hours, for actual less cost, you could get another almost 30 hours of work. Could look at doing like somebody suggested, a part-time person to help fill in on the planning zoning side, to see if that could work, could keep them busy, could satisfy some of these needs, all of that.
Drew, do you think there might be somebody out there that's retired this season that might like a part-time position that could help you? Or can you think of anybody like that?
Councilman, nothing comes to my mind right away. And it's interesting what you said there, Mayor. Most often, I think what we're going to see is somebody who's probably graduated from school and looking to become a planning and zoning administrator. Does that person exist? Boy, I certainly hope so. I'd love to find something like that. But typically, if they've got that background and that professional knowledge, that's what they're typically looking for, is to become a planner, if you will, which includes that zoning administration as well.
You have two personnel requests, an administrative assistant. I thought we already had that in place up there.
What we have talked about, and Drew can fill this in. So he has an administrative assistant. She is part-time. We've talked about, like I kind of just mentioned in a very roundabout way, doing another part-time person. So it would be two part-time. They could split some of the workload. And if one happened to not be in the office, you would have another one to backfill. They could be kind of cross-trained and help cover for each other. That would give you 30 more hours instead of 10, and with the benefit package would actually make it cost less than the 10 hours of making the one full-time. We brought that up with
I don't
Drew,
suppose-
and he, at this time, he didn't think that was what they wanted.
And I don't suppose an administrative assistant that could monitor, manage, and answer this sort of stuff on the zoning side could be combined into one human being.
That's what's tough. It is.
Okay.
I have a question that kind of ties into it.
Please.
I know at the league mid-year conference, a lot of changes in the legislature as far as turnaround times on plan inspections and whatnot. How much extra pressure is that putting on you guys as far as needing some extra help too, to make sure that you're staying on top of
Yeah,
that?
great question, Councilwoman. We have SB 241, which actually takes into effect today. And what that is we have basically a 2-week turnaround time if those plans are stamped, that we in essence have to issue that permit. Perhaps that first glance, you think that's going to relieve some pressure. I think the one challenge, actually there's a couple, one that I do see is that the tough part without doing a plan review is that's when you kind of gain that knowledge of what's the scope of the work is. So if we're literally just giving somebody that permit, we're doing a plan review literally while the concrete truck is backing up. Tough to do as far as setbacks, tough to do as far as, let's say, flood zones or any kind of airport influence things. So we really are going to have to be on our toes to at least get that zoning again dialed in. And that's where most jurisdictions, the first place somebody goes with their plans is planning and zoning. And then once they get through that, to building. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what I figured it was going to take, put some additional pressure on needing some help up front.
We're going to see how that unfolds, but I anticipate the same thing. Yes.
So, all right. Are there other questions?
Do you have a rule that you never climb on a roof if it's frosty or wet?
You know, that's a great question, Councilman. We actually, we tend not to go up on a lot of roofs, quite frankly. You've got OSHA requirements in place. We're bound by the same rules. And what I tend to encourage is, look, go in from the bottom up, take a 2x4, tap up on it, ask some questions. Yeah, we're not interested in going up on roofs.
There
Not-
are.
You went up on yours, Councilman? Is that what you
I
just
did.
said?
The wind, I know it's never windy in Cedar City, but the wind had actually displaced a couple of those tiles up on.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Did you get a permit for that? Sorry, that's just me. That's just,
I actually, yeah, it was just-
you don't have to write that down, Renan.
I'll tell you what, when the mayor does watering in accordance with our ordinances, then I'll get a permit.
Boy,
Oh, good grief almighty. There is a note. It will be taken care of. Are there other questions related
Thank you, Drew.
to this? As
Thank
far
you
as
much.
capital, we are looking at funding one vehicle in there and then shifting vehicles to other departments.
Yeah.
For the other plan. I just wanted to bring that up. So is there anything else?
Would they
Any
be
questions, Susan?
SUVs? Is that what you guys use?
we've got to have at least a 4-wheel drive.
Truck.
Yeah,
Shows a truck.
yeah,
Expect that like a Ford Ranger type
Yeah.
truck.
something like that. Yeah,
Are they 4-wheel drive?
they will be. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Okay.
much.
That's true.
Thanks, Drew.
Okay, we will now that I have candy and the wave, everything else, go to police.
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 I heard they didn't need
Police.
anything.
What'd you
Is
say?
it appropriate for them to bring a gun to the hearing? I feel
Leave it here and just set it right there.
Just to make the point, huh?
A taser might influence it more than.
I got that too.
he can do that.
Thank you, Mayor, staff, and council. I appreciate this opportunity and appreciate your time. I know these are 2 long days for you. I'd like to just move to that computer if I might, so I can pull up the projector and start by showing you some statistics, if that's okay.
Okay.
Want me to run it for you?
If you don't mind.
Wow. Wow, that's the biggest number I've seen so far.
Full page. When I was going through, it's like, they have the most.
It's 2.7. This little guy here.
Oh, that's right.
That's
That's
your
a little cheat
If
sheet.
you're watching, you need to pass it.
Sorry.
I have to find
That
my
was
Do
candy.
you need it? Do you want me to
That's
call
okay.
him?
Oh,
Yeah, if you would.
no, I totally forgot that we had that little cheat sheet. Thank you.
So,
Get the hints.
See this
We'll get
we
all
call
of this.
Trevor thing? This is kind of what we were talking about.
Well, I thought you was trying to budget some of Paul's time into IT now too.
Do you guys have, or do you want any candy bars over there? I now have. Hey, Trev, will you come down? We need your password and your assistance. Okay, bye. Do you want to hear a random fact of nothingness? Did you know that Trevor and I went to high school together?
Trevor and who?
Really?
Know that.
Trevor McDonald and I went to high school together.
Well, that explains some things.
About why we all have a stellar education from Cedar High School.
There you go.
Yes.
Doug, I want to know if you've ever seen a tsunami in the Doug, I want to know if you've ever seen a tsunami in the desert. So there's a D8 cat out there pushing a trench about 4 feet, and it's full of water, and all these folks were sitting right by the trench, and he came up with that, and the water came spilling over. Did anybody get that on video? That
I don't think so.
Someone
They were
from
all
the
diving
chamber
for their
could
lives.
have.
They were scrambling like it was crazy. It was funny. Water was like a wave.
There was
That's why I'm like this. I just didn't have time to
this
change.
out.
I even had tennis shoes on earlier. I changed them in the car driving back. It was, do you guys want some candy?
Instead of ripping it, they're cutting trenches
Oh.
so it
Yeah,
could
but it
fill
makes
up.
me feel better with the thought of,
But they turned on the water for a minute so we could see it. It filled it up with water.
There we go.
Let's front fast.
thanks, Trev.
Okay, I think we're on track here. Thank you for your patience. So you've probably seen this. This is our new mission statement. And I just wanted to brief you on this. This is on our website. And it says, as a dedicated and professional team, we are committed to excellence in enforcing the law, building positive relationships with our community, and protecting our residents and the diversity and traditions of our city. We'd like to keep that short and sweet so people know and understand what our mission is. Then, of course, we have a values and a vision statement and core values that are part of that website that we've refined as well. If you'll click on that link, I just wanted to show you the crime stats in relation to 2015 and contrast that to 2016. Just hit the login as on the right, and then just click in the username box and it'll come up. Should be saved.
Oh, well.
Did Trevor already leave?
Yes, he did.
My brother-in-law calls it an IO error.
Paul and Fred, and everyone else, I did send you the email that I was telling you about.
So this is all of ours.
And it
This is all of our
lays
own internal
everything out really well.
statistics. So if you'll scroll down to perfect right there, Paul, thank you. If you'll look here, I just want to show you again, 2015 to 2016, kind of what our statistics show. And I can go into more detail here, but of course our arsons, we had 1 in 15 and 1 in 16. So we saw a 100% decrease. Now that'll go up this year. If you recall, we had the serial arsonist and he did quite a bit of damage. That's the only one we've had, and I hope the only one we do have this year. Our aggravated assaults were down 10%. Burglaries down 15. We had an increase in homicides from last year. If that go up, Paul, this may be, yeah. See that little box that says 30 days up in the right left-hand corner next to the badge? Go over to the right there. Just click on that and hit annual on the bottom. Sorry about that. We'll get you the right data here. Now, if you can scroll down. There we go.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Something was off.
There. Okay.
So there's the arsons. Believe it or not, 5 and 15, 0 and 16. And then, of course, we had this other one in 17. So
Arson who?
arson who? Arson fire. Aggravated assaults, again, we're down. Burglaries are up about 34%. That includes our home and residential burglaries, commercial type burglaries. Homicide, again, 0 and 15, we were up, in 16 too. If you recall, we had the one at the trailer park on 500 West, which was about 30 days after I took the helm here. That person was captured in Colorado and brought back and undergoing trial as we speak. And then the other one was an attempted. That was the young man that snuck in his boyfriend's parents' house or girlfriend's parents' house up on the south end of town and stabbed the mother several times. And of course, she survived, thank goodness. These are our larcenies or our thefts, surprisingly down from 15 to 16. That's probably one of the largest crimes that we see is petty theft and larceny, retail, and property crimes in the community, not to include motor or auto burglary.
No.
Motor vehicle thefts up slightly, our rapes up slightly, and you can even go through and look at those. There's a handful that were prosecuted, some that are unfounded, some where the victim doesn't want to cooperate. So there's another dynamic to that as well that includes.
So wait here.
Yes.
On the arson, I was thinking of the guy that lit all the things down at the cemetery and that. That was the 15 one. Then we had the gas tank guy. Why isn't he?
So the gas tank guy was in this year here.
Oh, he's in 17?
Yes, 17. Yeah, and
Okay.
we're contrasting. I just wanted to show you 15 to 16
On
cents.
homicide, you said he stabbed her, but she survived.
So that's considered attempted homicide.
It goes under attempted?
It does. Well, it's in
Okay.
that same category because the UCR standards that the FBI puts together, they don't differentiate between homicide and
Or if
attempted
it didn't work.
Yeah. because it's
Okay.
the intent is there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Chief, are home burglaries isolated to kind of an area of town, or is it just widespread?
It tends to be. In fact, if you want, Paul, you can click on burglary and it'll pull those up. You can kind of look and see
I
if
was
you
just
scroll down
curious
there.
if it related to our
Is
favorite.
this your magic little thing, or can anybody look at that?
So this is our software that we have that I've just finally got put back together. We've had it for a few years. We've never used it to the level we should, to be honest with you. But I am in the process of putting together what's called a community dashboard. So I can give that link to anybody and you can go on and see, and I want the community to be able to see that as well. And so we're getting that taken care of as well. But you can see the addresses here: 200 North, 800 West, 1400 West, 2075, Center Street, Coal Creek, Freeway Lane, Bantill Circle out in Fiddlers, Bulldog Road, Fenwick Way, Main Street on the south end. So it's kind of all
They're
over.
kind of all over.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
The rapes, are they random around? Is it a college thing, or is it
It
just?
tends to be college, yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
do see a lot of, now, as you know, most of the college housing is off campus and under our jurisdiction.
Okay,
But
so
we-
if it's on campus, those statistics don't show up here?
Correct, because they will report that to SU Police Department.
Okay.
That's right.
So we don't even know what,
No, I mean, we could gather that data
Yeah.
from them, I'm sure, but I don't have that, right.
And actually on Facebook, SUU has a thing where they list like per week, just different instances they respond to.
okay.
So if you ever want to, just go to like the SUU Facebook page and it will list some of those things if you're curious about the ones that they deal with versus ours.
Okay. thank you.
Perfect. Great questions. Thank you. Now, right there above the word arson, Paul, that says part 1, there's a little box. If you'll just click on that and hit part 2. Thank you. And then just scroll down. We'll just finish up here with our disorderly conducts down 6%, drug offenses, surprisingly down 1.5%. Now, this doesn't include the drug task force, and I've got these stats here. They were actually down this last year, which is surprising. We're seeing an uptick in that now. Over the last 2 months, our task force has been extremely busy, and a lot of that depends on the informants that come forward. And they have one now that has come forward that is, as they put it, able to get into just about every major drug distributor in town. And so they're extremely busy right now. But in 2015, 234 total cases the Drug Task Force handled. Total arrests 105, and you contrast that to last year, it was 187 and 72. So some of that is self-initiated as well. So it may not be just calls that come in, but if you get a gung-ho guy in the task force that goes out and hits a hard, he may produce more than someone who is more reactive.
So Chief, what percentage of drug crimes are marijuana versus the other drugs?
They're probably,
Just,
I
just
can tell
guess.
you.
I mean, that's.
Yeah,
just
I'll give you a ballpark. So here is this. These were the substances that we collected through arrests this last year. There was 1,977 grams of methamphetamine and 1,955 grams of marijuana. So your meth is slightly higher than marijuana, but marijuana is the prevailing drug out there.
I just taught somebody that had been incarcerated last week, and he said that it seemed like 7 out of 10 that he was with in there was in there for marijuana.
Yeah, and that's probably true. We're seeing an uptick, as you know, in heroin and prescription opioid. The epidemic is searing.
But your two numbers there, you're just counting ounces or whatever,
Just grams,
grams.
right, that were seized.
But you could seize 15 kilos of something from just one guy.
Correct.
But how many different people does that involve? I guess that's the question that I would have.
I suspect that you're probably, with what they're doing out there, their covert underage or their covert undercover buys, probably 85 to 90% is marijuana, and meth is right behind that with regard to people. Heroin's climbing. It's kind of back and forth. And what's happened, and you may not be aware, is there's this thing called the Justice Reinvestment Initiative. Has anybody heard of that? The legislature put that through, ad nauseum, right? A couple of years ago, with the intent to try to decrease prison overcrowding. They feel like, and we agree to some extent, that people who engage in drug use do not belong in prison. They need treatment, they need help. It's highly addictive. But what we're seeing is people that realize that now, and they're saying, well, I can go and do 10 days in jail, come out, and I can make a lot of money by selling. So I'm going to go sell. And if I get popped, then I'll do 30 days minimum. And I can do that without any problem. I'm willing to do that. So we're seeing an increase in drug crimes because of the JRI, and it's well-intentioned. And again, we stand behind the philosophy behind it because we want people to get help. They need treatment, and drug court is having great success.
But you said selling, that's a whole different thing than using.
Right.
And that's the guys who should go in there.
Yeah.
Right?
It used to be to possess methamphetamine used to be a third-degree felony just to possess it, and they've dropped that to a Class A misdemeanor. So there again, the idea is to try and get these people help and treatment, but they never really freed up the amount of money that they promised to treat. So jails, if you talk to Alan Julian with probation, he's frustrated because people are dirty. Their urine's dirty every time they go check them out because it's not a huge violation, and they know that they won't go back to prison. So that's having an impact on our enforcement efforts as well.
How many of these disorderly conducts are Jason Norris?
Let's see.
We have a separate stat on that.
We suspect that will go up when he obtains that red Firebird that we're auctioning off.
I have no recollection of that.
Our drunkenness has gone down. DUIs have gone up. And again, a lot of that is based on the enforcement. We do DUI shifts about every 3 months. The state provides overtime for us to go do that. So as we get guys out that are eager and proactive, that number tends to go up. Although we have seen a decrease. I think we're experiencing more designated drivers and people in general that are more responsible. Sex offenses stayed the same, which I don't know. I've got to look at that because that doesn't look right. We had quite a few, in fact. And I don't know if that just drew on adult versus child, but I'll get those numbers to you. Simple assaults, again, these are some of the more common things that we do, and we actually saw a decrease in that. And our weapons offenses, I'd have to look at those details, but that's quite surprising. 12 to 3 from 1 year to the next, down 75%. So any questions on the statistics? You can X out of that, Paul, if you wouldn't go back to the PowerPoint. Thank you.
All right, Darren, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news.
Yes.
We do have to speed it up just a tiny.
Absolutely. Here we go. I just wanted to show you the department structure. I don't know if you're aware of this, and I have this and I can provide this to you. But just FYI, just shows the breakdown from our patrol division with Lieutenant Roden to operations division with Lieutenant Millett, administration, public affairs, investigations, and then of course our 4 patrol sergeants and all the officers going down. And again, I can provide that to you. It may be of note, just as we've made a lot of turnover and new officers to be able to have those names in front of you. And then just briefly, the accomplishments over the last year. As you know, we retired 3 officers and 7 left for various reasons. And we, of course, hired their replacements. I don't know if we'd call that accomplishments, maybe more occurrences. I just wanted to bring note to our VIPs because they do such a remarkable job. And I know you know that, but we could literally not operate without them. And we're so happy to have them and have willing participants within the city that come and give of their time freely. But you can see in excess of 3,900 hours last year and the dollar amount savings that provides to us in the city, which would have to be paid to officers for overtime. This is one thing that was a passion of mine that is of great importance, and that's our first department peer support team. This is a common trend throughout the nation as we look at trauma and accumulated trauma that officers experience, trying to do our very best to be proactive and get ahead of issues. I've taken a proactive stance over the last year in routing some of my staff to the Employee Assistance Program for counseling. Some of our veteran officers, I brought down a psychologist from Salt Lake to do status assessments, and he went through and did about 10 of our veteran officers. I think we have to do better at providing these resources to our people that face trauma potentially on a daily basis. And to be honest, that coupled with a few other compelling factors was the main reason that I created this new public affairs corporal. We have had officer-involved shootings everywhere around us, but here, thank goodness, and I hope that sustains. Parowan had one, Iron County had one in Canaryville, St. George's had a handful, and then of course you go north, and they've had a bunch. So we feel very fortunate, but what I felt like we were doing is lacking in our ability to truly investigate one of these and provide the proper investigative tool. Scott Garrett created the Critical Incident Task Force, which is a multi-jurisdictional task force, and tasked us with providing the majority of the help. That lost some steam, and it compelled me to try to renew some energy in that team. And we now have that team fully functioning, about 30 members between Iron, Garfield, and Beaver County. So then the event of an officer-involved shooting or a critical incident, this team from many jurisdictions can come together, highly trained investigators, both current and past, that can go through and investigate this objectively. And of course, as you know, that is now state law that we can't investigate our own officer-involved shootings, which we never would anyway, but the states recognize that. And so we went through a process, looked at 2 or 3 individuals within the department we felt like could run that. And of course, the oral interview board was comprised and returned Mike Blake's name back. As you know, we've placed him in that position to build and sustain that critical incident task force. And then our intent is to back him away and to allow that to flourish. He oversees our peer support team. We have 2 members of that now that are trained in peer support and suicide prevention, and we're looking at adding 3 more. And then, of course, community outreach is a big part of that as well. And then last year we created Iron County's first mental health court, and this is going very well. Similar to drug court, when we have somebody who's a mentally ill offender that doesn't belong in jail, we put him through mental health court. Officer Justin Chappell has taken the lead at my request and has been the tracker for that, and he's just done remarkable. We have about 7 participants in that who are doing great. We're not getting called to these people anymore. The diversion is great. We're working with Southwest Behavioral Health, and we may get to the point where we need a full-time tracker for mental health court. And I was just advised by Southwest Behavioral Health, they have the funding to fully staff a position for the next 3 to 5 years. And so we may be coming back to you if that gets to that point and seeking a new position that would be fully funded by an external source, but it's going very well. Operations budget, just real quickly, modest increase in our training budget with a brand new detective being added last year, and funding for the police academy. If we have to send somebody next year, we're hoping that we don't. We've been very fortunate to recruit veteran officers that are already certified, which saves us a lot of money. modest increase in the insurance. I can't remember the line item, but as you know, the Surviving Spouses Health Insurance Trust Fund, we're paying into that now. So we increased that budget slightly. And of course, our dispatch fees went up more than I had hoped, quite a bit actually. And we talked about this before because of the retirement for dispatchers. And so that was our operations budget increase. Our capital equipment requests include these vehicles here. We're replacing the following, or we'd like to, the Dodge Charger, and this is the associated mileage with those, some over 100 and the others pushing, and then adding a new vehicle for the SRO position. And so
the fifth car less expensive than the other four. Does the SRO not need as much outfitting?
So that one is actually, we were going to fund a public affairs vehicle, but we have one that we can do without.
Oh.
So the total amount we're looking for is $250,000. Two of those 5 vehicles that we're asking for will be half funded by the school district.
Okay.
So it'll be 3 patrol cars and 2 SRO vehicles.
So we completely fund them in the budget so they can get them, and then we put the reimbursement back in once we get it from the school district.
Because it didn't look like they were funded. The line is split somehow in a strange way that I don't.
Well,
It's
it's
two-
because of the
It's 250
way
instead.
we did them out of 2 different accounts.
But usually when you've agreed to it, it shows, it rolls all the way across, and on this one, it does not show that.
Well, we did, a part of that is one of the vehicles that was requested was for $42,000, and that one isn't being funded. We
Okay.
decided to wait for 1 more year.
Okay.
So the others are being funded. So it's 3 new patrol cars and then a replacement school resource officer car, and then a car for the new school resource
across the
officer.
top here,
And it's out of
funded
2 different accounts.
Okay.
That one was a little
This-
bit,
This 42,000 one you're not gonna do.
we're not doing this year.
Okay.
Chief, are you finding that the cars are doing okay going to 100,000?
Yeah.
They're doing just fine.
Yeah, we haven't had any, I mean, there's a few, I don't know if you call them lemons, but we've had a few that an engine goes out, but that's hard to predict, but that's been rare.
But it's
for the
mostly
most part.
lemon type
Well,
stuff.
You
Yeah.
got these 3 here that are all really close to 100,000.
Right.
We just went, years ago, we went from 80 to 100 just so we could know more.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be times when you're going to see an automatic increase in maintenance, but I don't think it's been so drastic that it's a concern.
Is the SRO vehicle completely outfitted
Yes.
the same way?
Because we'll pull those guys back in the summer, and my goal is to make them part of our investigations unit during the summer to help those guys, because that's what they do, and that'll help give them the background they need when they go to the schools to handle their own investigations.
Good.
So
Good thinking.
And we still hate the fact that we have to have an SRO for our
Well,
little ones, but we're to that point.
Yeah.
yep.
So that's just the really the last thing I have to talk about. And I don't know if you have questions about the need for a new SRO and our request for that. Again, I've had extensive conversations with Superintendent Delaney, and they support that, and they see the need for it, and they've committed to funding half of that SRO, again, along with the vehicles. I will be meeting with her and her staff to get their expectations, but my plan really is to try and address the need. And so I'd like to keep the 2 existing planted in the high schools to address the need and look at proactive ways to decrease crime. And then this 3rd one can attend the middle schools and the elementaries to give them the attention they
So a
need.
proactive response is just going out with the kid, but this reactive response means you're having to kind of arrest people. Is that?
Right.
Is that it?
Exactly. And you can see some of the statistics over the last couple of years that we have here. Some of the stuff has gone down, but some has gone up. Our accidents are up. Alcohol offenses are down. Assaults have gone up. Child abuses are up in the school. Criminal mischiefs, that's our vandalism, down. Drugs, surprisingly, in the school has dropped. Sex offenses have stayed the same. And then thefts, which we expect, that's always a problem. Tobacco problems has gone up. Truancy is still the same.
That tobacco is, the vape is included in that?
Correct. Yeah, anything tobacco related.
The hoodie vape,
Yeah, the hoodie vape.
still the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
So Chief, on the VIPs, you find that they, you wear them a little thin, or someone like to serve more than they are? Or is there any way we could ever use VIPs for some of this school resource stuff? Or
I think you might be able to as just a
Or
visual deterrent, but
maybe
as far as
hard to-
enforcement,
hard to relate as much because they're
Correct.
generation.
You're right.
Issue.
yeah, I mean, I would love to see the VIPs more in the elementaries. That's probably one area that we don't give as much attention to as I would like. And as you've seen
Can we
over
do
the
that?
past,
Could we
Yeah.
do that?
absolutely.
Because they might love that.
Right. One idea that we had last year, and we haven't breached the topic yet, and that is to provide some office space or substations within each of our schools. So the VIPs or the officers can go in there, sit down and do their report and be visual in the school and provide a deterrent. But it's also relationship building with our kids, because we often are in the store and we see the parent who says, if you don't be quiet, I'm going to have him arrest you. And we just want to smack them because that is so damaging. And so we need to counter that and build these positive relations. It doesn't happen a lot.
Kid, scare them a little bit.
What's that? Guilty?
It'd be cool just to have him have a chair next to the principal when they
Yeah.
come in. They're just both sitting there together.
Right. There you go. That'd really scare the kid when he comes down for his consequence. So again, that's it. Aside from that, as you know, we're working on the animal shelter. Our desire is to have a new one by next year. And so we're working closely with the mayor and fundraisers to try to do what we can to minimize the impact on the general fund. Now, I've talked to the mayor and Paul about this, and we'll have meetings that will be up and coming, but there is some interest from the county in joining us. And Enoch has expressed some interest, but the county certainly has some interest in joining us. That's from the sheriff himself. We'll see what the commissioners have to say, but
I would like to point out that we did have these conversations years ago, and it was no.
It's just silly to have 3 different pounds 15 miles
Right.
apart.
All of
It's just
us,
silly. It's
yes.
just a huge waste of taxpayer
absolutely.
money.
And just, I'm going to speak frankly. I mean,
That's odd.
do they have a
Yeah.
a shelter clear out in the boondocks so they could say they have one, but nobody wants to drive out there and use it?
I think, I don't know. I could ask, and I'm sure the sheriff would tell me. I think they have it out there because they probably own the land. It was free and it was easy to construct. It was,
Just went out.
cost efficient.
Yeah, it's like, why have it?
But
out
it is a
there?
ways out there.
Take your trash out.
Okay, I get my carpenters mixed up, but on your flow chart there, Matt Carpenter was animal control.
And Kurt is code enforcement.
Okay, so that carpenter is still animal control and Crofts is animal control, but one of them we moved out. Peterson, we moved out.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
he's a patrol officer
All
now.
right.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thank
Any
you, Gene.
questions,
Any other
concerns?
questions for Darren?
Thanks for your help yesterday.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we will move on to leisure and events.
Mayor and Council, Brian Dangerfield, Leisure Services Director. Thanks for the Snickers bar, Mayor.
Heck yes.
As you know, the Leisure Services Department was combined last year with the events. I came over just a little over a year ago. Just had my anniversary a couple of weeks ago and started our experiment. We started out with the tour of Utah, which was I felt like just an amazing event. Judging by the Larry H. Miller Group folks, they said Cedar City got 3 times as much mention because they had 7 days to talk about Cedar City and how the event was started out. And I can't say enough thanks to all the volunteers and staff that helped and the partnerships that were developed. As you know, a few years ago, that event was a 6-figure event, and this year it cost a little under $40,000, and some of that we're able to get sponsorships, and that brought that cost down even more. You'll hear from some of our other division heads today. I don't know why I'm losing my voice here. As you know, the Aquatic Center is under Leisure Services, Parks and Outdoor Facilities, Cedar Ridge Golf Course, the Sports and Recreation, Cross Hollows Arenas, and then we've kind of combined events with the admin of the department. So we're going to try and run some of the costs through the Leisure Services division that kind of appeals or applies to all the different divisions underneath us. We're a little over $4.5 million, which is, as we understand, it's a big chunk of the city's budget. And we know that we take care of some of the most visible properties that the city owns. We take great pride in that. One thing you'll hear from our division heads is the competition we're having right now with the private sector and the wages and trying to get fully staffed in time for Memorial Day celebrations and our Sparkle campaigns so that we can have our volunteers properly supervise as they go about some of their duties on city property. And I just thought I'd just take a second and go over some of the things that I look at as things that are great accomplishments. I brought up the tour of Utah was one. We had Dale Murphy Baseball Academy. He decided to jump into doing his own academy, and Cedar City was the very first one he did. And this year, he's going to be here this Friday and Saturday. After he finishes Utah, he's going back to Atlanta for the rest of the summer. And those of you that follow baseball, they just built SunTrust Park in Atlanta, an amazing facility. And number 3 has got a real prominent visibility there. And so we're grateful that Dale would come. And he's offered, as you know, one of our mission statements. One of the things we're trying to do is to get those partnerships, get those public-private partnerships together. And he's offered to help us in any way he can with baseball facilities and softball facilities. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say our mission statement is to provide the citizens and visitors with innovative, inclusive, and affordable programs and events to inspire them to be healthier and socially engaged, to maintain state-of-the-art venues that are clean and safe, and give citizens the fitness, recreational, and competitive athletic opportunities they want and we can afford. And the chief's not here, but I want to thank him and his staff and the VIPs for any time we've had events. They've been there to help us to provide safe and secure routes through the half marathon, which we decided this year we were going to show off the Coal Creek Trail. And the only time we were really on the road was coming down Cedar Canyon, which is a big deal. But once they hopped on Coal Creek Trail, they went all the way down to Bicentennial Park. We did our first ever zombie apocalypse run, which I think the people that came out to that, it was about 80 people engaged in that. I think we're going to get a lot more. We had to change the date on that. We realized we were up against SUU's homecoming on October 7th. So we're moving that back to October 14th. We had a fantastic spectacular. The mayor's mom came and did an amazing job with Santa Land. The mayor was there, and members of the community came and helped build that into really a wonderful activity. And to see how many people came through, I believe we gave away 1,400 candy canes. So that was kind of our method of counting the folks that came there. This year, I'm pleased to announce that we have a very reputable company who is going to be taking over the fire road. The Cedar City Fire Road normally has been held in June. That's going to be held in August now. We're working with the hotels to try and pick dates. That'll be on August 19th. Planet Ultra is the name of that company, and they'd like to come to council meeting and introduce themselves, and very pleased with how they represent themselves. They put on 50 cycling events throughout the United States. One thing that over the past year, during the middle of trying to put these events on, we've tried to, one of the frustrations I think divisions had was having clear-cut policies and procedures and coming up with price points on what we charge, because we want to be inclusive. We want people to be able to afford to use our services, but we also take our cost recovery very seriously, but yet we want to make sure that all of our citizens have a chance to participate and that it's funded properly. We've had a chance to look at impact fees, our RAP tax, and the grants. We're trying to combine grants with those funds that we have. Those funds that are expiring, we're trying to get those projects in the ground and started, and some of them finished before June 30th. Others, we have another year to work on that. One of the projects that we got some RAP tax funding and some restaurant tax from the county to update our park signage and our trailhead maps and directions. Our tourism bureau was very supportive of us having, when they send somebody out to go walk our beautiful trails, that once they get there, it's clearly, directions are clearly given on where they can go, what things they can see, and how long it takes for them to do that, both on cycles and walking. So that's just kind of a quick highlight of just the admin and the event side. We'll have our other division heads get up and give their presentations, but wanted to stop and see if there's any questions before we, Mayor, if you want to talk about TRT.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do really quick with TRT, and then we can quickly go through their capital ones. So,
Let me ask, I never brought this back up with Kit, but when I asked him to get a gate out at the Cross Hollows, he way over engineered that. We need a gate that opens up and you drive across dirt to get to the pavement. So $19,000. I just see here, I can get a 12-foot chain link gate for $169.99. We need 2 of those. And I would like that put back into the budget somewhere to get that. We don't need to pave anything because the people drive across a gravel parking lot to get out anyway. We just need 2 gates that open up at the end of an event so they can we have more than one way out of it.
Cross Hollows, right?
Cross Hollows, yeah.
And where do they want a gate?
Just on the south end of the thing so that people can get out at the end of an event. Right now, it really is restricted to just one exit because practically speaking, you can't get down to that north exit. So if there's some way we could move that back in, all I'm looking for is a gate that opens a few times a year. It doesn't need to be paved or engineered, just open the
When
gate.
Larry gets here, can we discuss
Yeah.
that one?
Oh,
So-
Larry's coming?
Yes,
Did
Yeah.
not know that.
So
Okay.
he's scheduled.
Well,
we have the next hour and a half for your
He's
pleasure.
in here at 3:40.
I just think it would be
Yeah.
helpful to have him here for
That's
that
right,
one.
yeah.
So with the TRT, like I had promised and like we do every year, the sheet I just handed out, one side gives you the proposed breakdown for this year would be Summer Games 40, Shakespeare 40,000, the event coordinator, travel recruitment, and then underneath I break out that exact amount. The community projects is how we're going to do some of our sparkly cleanup items. And then one time out of that would be displays. When Steve comes and talks about the library stuff, we are looking at, so we have a number of display cases at the airport here, well, actually not here, but different places, and actually having a person that helps keep those up to date and clean and refreshed, and doing a display up at the aquatic center that would help promote our other facilities and that. So that's what that is. And where Danny's and economic development helps with the, what was I saying? With some of the event stuff, their car. You guys look really confused.
What's this event coordinator? Is that what's that?
That's just him.
That's,
Yeah,
okay.
that is
That's
that
the
one.
title that I had before.
That was
They're
the,
so we're gonna take TRT to go towards his.
some of their
compensation.
costs, and that was
Is that a
always,
new proposal?
no, that's what we've done. If you look at the backside, that's been on there last year, that's been on there.
Okay,
Basically, every
I didn't realize.
year, we've done that. That was even part of the original ordinance. So that's not changed. Really, there hasn't been that much that has changed from last year to this year. When you look at now I'm going to somewhat switch gears on you because welcome to me being somewhat all over the place. The capital request from Leisure Services and Events, it doesn't look like any of those items are funded. However, based on our TRTs from last year and there being some left over in that, it's looking like we're going to be able to do the pedestrian event railing, some of the welcome sign, and some of the inner rock landscape intersection. We're working on doing that out of the current year's TRT as well, which still fits in line with our other things. I just wanted to let you know that's why those ones aren't proposed to be funded, because we're trying to do them out of the current year TRT budget.
Current year meaning where we're sitting right
Meaning,
now?
yeah, like today's budget.
Okay.
So
There was just the 2.
item 1,
The railing and the.
4,
welcome
and
signs?
5.
Mayor, if I might, the
Absolutely.
welcome sign, we wanted to kind of spruce up exit 59, which is the middle interchange, and we'd also like, since Wade doesn't have a lot of extra money to be able, we were looking at possibly maybe having privatizing taking care of the interchanges, and we're getting closer to having what that cost estimate might be, as opposed to us taking care of it. But it takes a lot of manpower and supplies to do that.
And so,
Do you have a site for those signs on the middle interchange?
Approximately, we know we'll have to get approval from UDOT before we
'Cause
do
it
that.
looks pretty tight through all there, but you do have a,
Yeah, and if you do it
Nice.
small enough.
yeah, so just kind of sprucing some of that up,
great
and
big old plaster Paris prairie dog.
so help us all.
Highly recommended.
But that
Like
is,
a Thunderbird head.
but anyways, contracting out the maintenance and that for the interchanges. If at some point, depending on how that, we'll have to do an RFP and all that, that would come back before the council, but that is one that would be really nice
Are
if
we
we could.
responsible for the highway between the interchanges?
I know.
Well, that's UDOT. UDOT's got, there's a shoulder on the side of the freeway on both sides, and then the strip down the middle. That's all. Department of
Okay.
Transportation.
Thank you.
So are there any questions on the DRT stuff or the leisure services events? Sorry, I made things kind of confusing with the wording on that. I just didn't change the title from one year to the other.
So is now when we ask about the,
Well, now we'll do parks
Okay.
would be next.
all right.
Mayor,
So-
if I could,
Oh,
just in
absolutely.
fairness to Wade, since he's kind of in on this at the last minute, I was going to talk about the trail priority and the funding for the trails really quickly, if you don't mind,
Oh.
to kind of lead into what he's
Absolutely.
going to say.
Hi, Wade. Welcome to
Sure.
budget meetings.
He's taking notes back there. As you know, Austin Bingham moved over to become our assistant superintendent at the golf course. And Wade came, and we can't be more pleased to have him join us on our team. And it's so important that we have this small group of people take care of so many acres. He's going to talk about that a little bit. But one thing that I'm going to jump back really fast. We have several committees that advise us. We have our Leisure Services Advisory Committee, our Trails Commission, our Cross Hollows Arenas. We also have a Friends of the Cemetery Committee. They're meeting tomorrow, and they're going to help us organize some of the volunteers that are going to help us with our memorial services. And so I've got to thank the Master Plan Committee. I didn't even mention that. That's absorbed the last 6 months of a lot of our department's life. We've done site visits. We've taken a look at what people said, why don't you, in over your 20-year visioning plan, why don't you go check this out? And so we did. We went and did site visits along the way, taking photos, taking notes of what kind of signage, kind of wayfinding, what type of facilities that they had. But one thing that we have a huge potential on, and that is with our trails. We have beautiful trails. A lot of them, you have to go out and then come back the same way. And we're trying to get those to loop. And what we're trying to get done is, I call it the Apocalypse Bridge, but it's the bridge that goes over I-15. We're trying to get those people that go on the East Bench Trail by La Quinta, go down along Highway 91 on a safe trail, go up over the freeway and over by Home Depot. That opens up, instead of having to go through that dangerous intersection underneath the freeway, a really scenic. Those of you that have driven that and walked it, it's very scenic.
Even be better with the addition of the veteran cemetery up in that area.
Absolutely. And I would like the trail to go up that hill and go along the livestock trail. We have an easement that goes along that down into Cross Hollows.
Right there adjacent to the proposed cemetery, I believe.
Yeah, I challenge people when, a lot of times you just kind of go to work and go home the same way, and you kind of see the city from your vantage point. If anybody's kind of driving behind Home Depot there, just go up on that hill a little ways and look at the view you have of Cedar Mountain and the Red Hill and the rest of town. It's pretty impressive. So we're trying to get that done. We're trying to get as much done on the South View Trail. Kit and and Troy went and kind of walked through that, and I think we found a few more hindrances. We might need a few more bridges to make that happen. So I'm not sure where that's going to stand now, but we're, at least we're making progress. We're identifying sites and ways that we can get people looped around and get people up in our foothills and our surroundings and get them out and active.
You don't still give trail grants?
We are applying. We've applied for land and water conservation grants, and we found we need to do some things with
I
that.
used to
But
give them because they'd say some people could walk to work or whatever. We'll help pay for that, but no more.
well, there's a motorized trail grant that I can't remember who sponsors that. I don't know if it's through them from federal government, but and there's the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. Fortunately, I have a bunch of grant writers on our trails committee, so that's very great.
Jackie Grant.
Jackie Grant and Ben Davidson wrote the last two.
We have a problem with the Land and Water Trails grant right now. We're not eligible to receive it. We had a land and water grant probably 40 plus years ago that put the old pool and that property into play. When the new pool was built and the old pool was demolished, the city failed to in a timely manner, submit the necessary paperwork to Land and Water Trails to kind of transfer that status up to the new pool. We have a application pretty much ready to go. We just need a good project to attach that Land and Water Trails to. We were thinking about doing it out in Cross Hollow, but that doesn't look like it's going to develop all that soon, and we're trying to get a good one to attach it to. It's going to cost a little bit of money to do some appraisals. So that's where we're at with that.
Mayor and council, also, when you get the master plan proposal, you'll see some of the additional trails and facilities that are basically a wish list for you to consider. We had about 1,642 households respond to the online survey, which is just really unheard of, that kind of response. And we appreciate the passion that everybody had and the input that we got from everybody. And
Brian, I have a question
Yes.
on trails. So the railroad property we've been trying to acquire, but we can't get past the firewall of the realtors. Is that? I reached out to Senator Lee the other night, and I talked to him via text, and I asked him if there's anything to do to help. He said, well, it's tricky for a U.S. senator to get involved in a land deal between a private company and a city, but he asked me if there's anything more he could do to help. But I wonder if just a contact person above the realtor to get through them. Is that one of our problems, is getting around getting past them to talk to a higher level person? Or
I know it's been identified as a key way to get through town and across. It's a great way to transition, but my understanding is the cost was prohibitive.
Well, but realtors are going to want to they're going to make a commission, so they're going to want to get the most money they can. So, my understanding is Cedar City, donated a lot of that property back when they gave it,
A while ago, we spoke with the lady from the railroad who was going to get us an appraisal. We haven't heard from her in a little while because they were going to update the appraisal because
the realtor or
this was the
Realtor representative.
I just wonder if we could go another level higher to somebody in UP and say, look, we gave that land to you years ago. We got to, come on.
We did bring all that up. We will follow back with her, and then we can also get the contact information to you if you would like it.
Another trail that is a priority was the Fiddler's Creek Trail. Being able to get people from the Fiddler's Canyon subdivisions, being able to ride their bikes under Main Street, another street, and go along the safe side of the freeway and come into the back way of Canyon View High School. We're looking at ways to connect people, the trails with the parks, with the schools. I'd love nothing better than to see a lot of our kids. I lived in Davis, California for a few years, and it's a very bike friendly, and it was very fun to be able to ride your bike through green belts and overpasses. It was that was pretty lavish there, but to be able to have a safe passage and know your kids can go safely to schools and parks and be able to get to our skate park and those things are important. I noticed my time is up for those keeping track. I was told I'm going to be docked. So unless you have any questions, I think you'll enjoy hearing from Wade Orm. I can't say how much I appreciate his tenacity and just taking all these projects that Austin did a great job preparing the way for him to go over to the golf course, but he's done a great job in taking up that mantle. So is there any other questions before I turn it over to Wade? Go over his budget? Okay, you're on.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Wade Orm. I am the new Parks and Outdoor Facilities Division Head. I did not have to talk in front of microphones very often before, so bear with me for a second. First off, I'm very appreciative of the position that took place before I arrived. The mechanic for the parks has been a huge help. It has freed up so much time for the other maintenance workers that we had before. A lot of the maintenance workers were doing their own repairs for their small engines and lawnmowers there at the site. It has freed them up to actually stay on site and stay busy helping with seasonals and that. So that has been a huge addition to our staff, as well as this proposed addition for a lead for our department. I know that's a big cost, but you'll have to bear with me. Austin proposed a lot of the stuff, so I'm just kind of going off of what he said, and a lot of this stuff rings true. The parks has grown immensely in the last number of years. From the records, they've added a number of parks, and the budget and the staff has remained the same. This lead will help me out greatly, making sure that he can go around and help gather information for future projects that are currently going on, to make sure that they are up to snuff, as it were, and to actually help the other guys with bigger projects when it comes to like airifying in the year, major water line breaks and things like that. So that will be a great addition to our staff. As well as some of the things that we've been able to accomplish this year so far. We're trying to finish up some wrap tax money with renovations at the hills for those ball diamonds. We've ordered shade structures for the bleachers over there, so it'll round out the three that still needed to be covered, suggested by the IRMA inspection with that, as well as trying to finish up some wrap tax money at the Bicentennial ball field. We're going to get the parking lot there striped. We were looking at doing a seal coat on it and possibly doing that, but after talking to Jeff Hunter and a couple other people that have much more experience with asphalt, they suggested that would probably be a waste of money, being that there is so much seal coat, or excuse me, crack fill. There's so much crack fill in that parking lot.
The parking lot's so bad that.
Yes. Seal coating it would just be a waste of money. So, but there's no lines visible. So we are going to at least paint the lines, and we're going to look at ways to propose and bring forth something to help address that parking lot. So we're using that money for those renovations for the skate park, replacing a lot of the damaged panels that are there adjacent to that, fixing some fencing and things of that nature. So we're also going forward with a lot of these capital improvements. Austin was really good at saving money with the acquisition of some large area mowers and tractors, and it has freed up a lot of money to where we can get some equipment to help in other aspects of the parks and maintaining our turf, and getting some utility vehicles that we can use year round for plowing the trails and also the streets around the city building, as well as use them during the summertime for transporting material or spraying weeds and stuff like that.
That's part of why when you look at their capital list, there are only 3 items that are proposed to be funded, because the central irrigation control system, the ATV and plow, and the trailer are all coming out of the current budget.
Oh,
So it's they were able to have big time savings on those other big equipment purchases. And we met, and these few items can come out of the current year budget.
Yeah. So as you can see down there as well, the capital improvement there for a building, that would be the new cemetery building. And I'll let the mayor take more of that lead. She's definitely been more involved in that. I've only been able to sit on in one meeting, but it is definitely being a new person coming into town. Is definitely something that would be a great addition to the city.
So with that one, as you know, that's the cemetery, the additional money for the cemetery building and for the columbarium. So both of them are included in there. Obviously, before we would do the columbarium, we'd have to do RFPs and have the bid process come back and all of that. But we have put it in the budget to be funded so we can really start progressing towards getting our project donezos, or at least started on the construction. We'll start with that part and then get to that. But we are moving ahead with all of that. So
Is the skate park something where we can begin this process of private-public partnerships? Is there enough enthusiasm that we could, I'm just,
Brian Dangerfield, Director of Leisure Services. There is the group that came forward to the master plan meetings. They've gotten together. They've actually written a grant to the Tony Hawk Foundation, and so they're definitely involved. We're going to stay engaged. There were a lot of groups that came forward. We even had a group that wanted to build an indoor field house too. So we have a lot of groups that have a lot of interest, and it's a matter of getting the money where the reality is. But as Wade mentioned, our priority right now is safety, and we've got to get some of those ramps replaced as soon as possible.
So are you going to double down on a bad design with repairing the ramps? Or are you going to be able to start taking out bad design stuff and putting in?
We have it on our 5-year plan at least, and that can be accelerated as we get funding to do cement ramps and to replace those.
So you're going to make it safe again, but as time goes on, you'll take out the above ground stuff and start building in these structures that we talked about the other day. So
When you'll see when we present the master plan next week, the above ground cement facilities are just as popular. They call them plaza. The kids think they're downtown skating on park benches and all kinds of things, except it's in their environment and it's safe.
stuff we've got now because
Correct.
It's just coming apart.
Yeah, cement is where everybody's going, and I'm a little leery about the bowls that you're all in on that, and they're very, very expensive and hard to maintain. So Provo Rec Center is a great example of an above ground cement skate park that this group likes, and then of course we'll get input from everybody that's in that environment.
the really quick answer to that was yes.
Something that I would like to bring attention to is, with this addition to this new lead, it will help out a lot with the labor. We are still struggling to find seasonal help. It's tough right now to compete with the private sector and the wages that they are offering, but we'll continue to do what we can. So we're
$2 an hour more, $1 an hour more. What's it going to take to keep?
Austin, before the transition, Austin had actually called a number of other cities, and we asked what they were paying. And out of the 10 of them, I averaged them all out. They're all averaging about $10.50 as their starting wage.
We're at 8.
And we're at 8.
Can you get that to Natasha? So
Yeah.
I've asked Natasha to look at not only other government entities, but some private as well, as far as those entities that we compete with, to see what we need to do with our part-time wage scale. One thing we're going to sit down with Brian and Wade and probably Jeff and Ryan as well, and talk about how to adjust that wage scale for this year without necessarily increasing the money that's going into those budgets.
How many temporary folks are hired in a given year?
For my department,
Yes.
I believe it is roughly 20 as
So-
in past.
So
20 to 26 average in there.
you got 20 for Wade. We have a huge percentage of our workforce at the aquatic center, and they rotate in and out. The lifeguards, they're all part-timers.
So that's-
We also have streets, storm drain. I'm not sure if storm drain does. I know streets does, water does. So when you add it all up, we have about 147 to 150 full-time employees. Our part-time employees are double that.
Yeah.
So it's a substantial amount.
And you would not necessarily, because sitting at the pool and going out and digging trenches are kind
Oh,
of two different
no,
things. So
that-
you wouldn't have to you could just raise it for his department.
That's part of that part-time wage, internal part-time wage that we have with staff, is to say we try to rank the people in there depending on what they do. So it takes that into consideration.
Okay.
And we have to be, with the part-time ones, you still have the hours and making sure that we don't average more hours than allowable under Obamacare and all of
Yeah.
those issues. But
And
Wade
that-
had the problem of 3 part-time people and not one showed up to work on Monday.
It's 4 now. Yesterday made number 4.
Oh,
I
congratulations.
offered him a job and he called me 2 hours later saying that he had received a better job offer and he took that. Plus I've had 2 people that have been with us for a couple of months already give notice. They've been offered $12.50 an hour for working some.
The Arbor Day trees, some stranger on the sidewalk said to one of the guys that was helping plant the trees, said, yeah, just send me your resume and we'll see if I can pass it on. So it's like, gee, right there, stealing the guy right there on the spot.
Yeah, so I mean it's difficult. I know just in Vegas before I got here we had to raise our entry level position to $10 an hour down there as well. So I don't think it's just Cedar City. I think this has kind of gone to a nationwide problem. But it's
We're hit with the economy
yeah,
because the building's up
yeah.
and that's where they're heading. The construction jobs are
So currently right now
taking a lot of them.
with the $8 an hour I am getting application, but they're mostly high school kids. And they all can't start until after high school gets out.
Oh, yeah.
And so unfortunately that's about 2 months too late for some of the things we need to do. I mean, especially with the ball diamonds, Dale is doing an awesome job out there with the ball fields and trying to keep those up as much as he can. But I mean, he almost needs to be fully staffed with his positions by the 1st of April before Little League starts. And it continues on all the way into June with machine
Does the
pitch.
entire burden of caring for those fields fall to the city, or do the teams that use them do something towards that?
We maintain them.
We maintain them.
There could be some volunteer help from some of the leagues now and again, but
They have a cleanup day
Yeah,
or something like that. But
we maintain them.
Yeah, so it's a struggle, but the guys I have right now are doing an excellent job with what they have to work with, and I'm very appreciative of this the chance to have this lead worker to fill into some of those special project gaps.
They're limited to 30 hours then?
All of our part-timers,
Isn't
our
it-
policy says 28.
28.
28.
So the Affordable Care Act says if they average 30 hours, you have to provide them health
Right.
insurance. That's still on the books.
And I believe that part was stricken with the House's version of the bill. So
That's only the House.
if the Senate
See what
stick
happens with
it,
that.
get it signed, that would sure.
From my understanding with that, it's for the year, so within a given year. So we can have guys work 40 hours a week, but then we have to.
You can't work them all
But you
year.
can't work.
I can't.
all
You work
year.
them a year long. I can only work them for
Okay.
the summer.
So for the
Or-
summer, you can get 40 hours.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that just with that one and some of the part-time people, they don't want to just work for the summer and this, I mean, so average with all of them. And
Yeah,
that kind of
that's-
helps you citywide, you
temp-
know?
Temporary, sort of like Express and those, how would that work out for some of this stuff? So when you need a body, just call them and you don't have to worry
With some of that stuff that might work, going around picking up trash or using a line trimmer, stuff like that. But, these, some of our lawnmowers, like the large area mower that we just purchased is $50,000, and we don't even put.
Please don't ruin those.
Yes.
Understand
So-
that, but I mean menial stuff.
And the menial stuff, actually, usually we can get the high school kids with, for the $8 an hour or whatever, and that's not the big deal. Our struggle right now is to get returning people that we don't have to retrain, and start again at $8 an hour and spend 2 months trying to train them again, just for them to say, in those 2 months, I've found a better job that paid more. So
No college kids.
college kids are similar to the same aspect that sometimes we can get them returning, but a lot of them are so busy with school that they can start going 40 hours a week, but just shortly before the high school kids do. So,
Almost a full month this year.
yeah. So is any other
One
questions?
other thing, will you look at the timer on the watering at the Mayor's Square since it was going off at noon?
At noon.
Are you
Yes.
No, it was
Write her a citation.
I drove by at 10:15.
Or 10:15, whatever time it
Some heat
was.
about that, Mayor?
Hey, I told you, we follow
Hey.
up around here, dang it.
Hey,
We just want to lead by example.
No,
obviously,
I'm
he's
sure
deputized us to give us a citation booklet, Mayor.
our lead that is over that, he is very, very water conscious. My guess is, and this is just a guess, that he was probably checking and adjusting nozzles and everything like that. So unfortunately, that's something that they don't like to do at midnight.
I didn't
So,
see, yeah, I didn't see anybody, but
but I will check into that for sure. So that is definitely something we don't want running every day.
okay.
Hey, thank you.
Sorry to rat you out like that. But,
No, it's all right.
Do we have any other? Yeah.
We could put up a sign that just said, "Don't do this."
Yes.
This is what you shouldn't do.
The field supervisor that's on there that's approved as a new personnel.
That
like, who
is,
that?
so the field supervisor, it's really going to be a lead worker. That's what it was on here as a field supervisor, but the way our terminology works, that's the lead worker.
So that was the one you were
Yeah, that's what
referring
he's
to then?
re-
That's
Yes.
what I thought.
Yeah,
but I
that's what
wanted to
he's
make sure.
referring
Okay.
to. It was just different terminology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah.
I would just wanted to confirm that.
Mhm.
Thanks a lot, Wade.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, good job.
a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You made it through his first one.
All right. Recreation.
Jennifer Weaver, Sports and Recreation. Things have been running smoothly now that I've had a couple years under my belt, and I feel like the consistency of the programs have really evened out, and things are going really well. I appreciate the support of the mayor and the administration with everything that I've come to them with. It seems to they are always in support of whatever we do, so I appreciate that. As far as my programs, I guess, go, is we're still holding strong with the increased numbers generally with each of the programs that we do. In the past year, basically, we ran about 1,000 games for recreation, different things. If you average that out, that's about 3 games a day that happen. It really doesn't happen just 3 games a day. Sometimes there's no games, sometimes there's 10. But that's the numbers that we're kind of throwing out there. And within my department, I don't have a full-time person helping me out. I have a few part-time people, and I also depend on about 200 plus volunteers every year to make those programs work. So things are going well. I just like to say a lot of my programs depend on the facilities that are ran by the Parks Department. And so he kind of takes the brunt of coming and asking for those budgeting needs because it really falls under his. But I'd like to just give a good backup support of whatever you can do for Wade. It helps me. So there's my mention to that. Is there anything else you want to ask about or anything
What's
you want to know?
this sports and recreation manager, new personnel?
So I can see the vision of our department and the things that we could be offering. Me as one person with the situation I'm in, I can do so much. And then I do have some part-time staff that helps. But in reality, for a program to be successful, you have to have someone that can oversee it. And right now, we're not in a position set up basically to have a part-time person come in and take over a program from start to finish, because they don't have the programs we have. They don't have access to a computer. They don't have office space or whatnot. So my vision for, in order for recreation to grow, there's been a couple creative ways that I've come up with that we've done and tapped into. And that one is, just this year, we'll probably add 3 adult programs. And that is, we've added the adult basketball. We're trying adult co-ed volleyball and adult soccer. But having said that, those are programs that I'm going to assist in, but I have talked AYSO into doing the adult soccer, and the sports academy is going to try the adult co-ed volleyball. There's other things in my head and my vision that can go on, and some of them are tournament type events, and it really is kind of a gray area because those things kind of lie under what Brian really would do. But I feel like we could be accessing a lot more of the money-making type tournaments that come to town. And in order to do that, we just need somebody to take those on if we want to create that.
So it would be
Mhm.
like an assistant manager. It's not.
Yeah, possibly even, I mean, I didn't know, I know that Brian also needs some assistance, and I don't know, what he's asked for that, but if one person in turn could take on some of those responsibilities
I
plus.
guess what I'm saying is
help with
right
him.
now, this title here is your title,
Mhm.
and you don't want to.
No, it would
Um,
not be replacing Jen. It would be
Right.
kind
Yes.
of an assistant to
It'd be
her.
an assistant.
And it could happen in either way. In St. George, other recreational communities, there is somebody over just youth sports. So,
Okay.
so we could split some of these
Split it.
programs basically and
Okay.
have another one of me in reality,
Okay.
if we wanted to have that happen.
Adult sports and youth sports.
And then there's somebody just over softball
Do
in
we
St.
make
George,
enough
just
revenue,
over
Jen,
tournaments.
to cover the cost of the employee?
That's hard to say, because within my sports programs, it ran a little bit differently. It's not like revenue at the aquatics or like what you bring in and you spend kind of all shows together. I have revenues that come in for the sports participating, but for example, youth basketball, we don't make any revenue. It's not a revenue making industry that I'm in, because we pay out for gyms. It basically, the city supplements a lot of the recreational programs. The adult programs cover themselves, basically in the format of the referees that we hire, the field supervisors and whatnot. They kind of cover that, but it's not based, I guess, it's more of a service that we're providing to the community. It's not a lot of money making entities. Now, on the other hand, the tournament type event things that I think we could tap into, those are the things that make revenue that could then help cover some of that balance. So it's just the fact of, I think we're at the point, and I might even be past that point, because I often put in more hours a week than I'm really supposed to, of just basically saying, we've got to just cap what we're doing. We're at the maximum of what I can manage.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, there's
At
not.
some point, maybe we got to draw the line, right?
Yeah. I just think that the things that bring people into Cedar City and make your community quality, number one is quality of life and things that we offer. And I have a true belief in recreation being that when people are considering bringing an industry in or moving into town, well, what can you offer? Do you have an open gym space? Do you have this? Do you have these programs? Adult soccer, and I just think it makes
I
the
think we have that
city more appealing. I think we have that to a point as well.
at some point, maybe.
So that was just a vision, I guess, of asking. Doesn't hurt to ask.
I love the idea of tournaments that would bring people into town and can be self-sustaining in terms of what people are charged. Panguitch has this giant softball tournament out there every year.
Yeah.
Why does Panguitch get that instead of us? I mean,
Yeah.
and it's at the same time. Is it at the same time?
Yeah, there's a lot of options
and
out there
I'm
for
not
things.
picking on Panguitch. They have enough of their own problems, but
No, they're very tight knit community with the baseball community. They have a baseball tournament with every summer that Guam shows up to in Hawaii. They do some good stuff.
so I would
so.
encourage us to look
Guam.
at those kinds of events that
Mhm.
How does that work? You're sitting in Hawaii and you say, let's go to
Penguin.
Panguitch for a softball
I guess
tournament.
it's.
Oh, yeah. Well, for example, some of the visions I have, my daughter plays in Little League, and the last couple of years they've won the Utah State Little League title. We've gone to San Bernardino and done that tournament. And then I've had a couple daughters go on, when we win the junior league level, you go to Tucson, Arizona, and we play there. And I was amazed when I went to Tucson, Arizona the first year and went, whoa, this complex isn't half as nice as ours. Oh, this tournament's not ran nearly as nice as what we could do. And it's Tucson in July. So, so I contacted the Little League headquarters, says, hey, what can we do to apply to host that tournament? We have such better, and I kind of sold them on everything we have here, national parks, la da 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 da. And they said, hey, thank you for your interest. Right now it's locked into Tucson. And then they sent me a list of all the things that are mandatory needed to host that. And it's like access to major airport within certain reason, whatnot. But those, I'm thinking big, or when I go to the high school state baseball, softball tournaments, we could be applying for, to house those in our community. The complexes that we play state high school softball in are not any better than the we have up on the hill. So just visions of seeing part of that. Love that kind of stuff. So anyway, any other questions?
Thanks.
Okay,
Jen, thank you so
perfect.
much.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. Golf.
I saw a happy picture of you and family. That must have been before the Jazz game.
It was, but it was also the ending we expected. So that's all right. Jared Barnes Golf Course, and I brought Steve Carter as my backup here, my heavy hitter.
Is our friend Austin happy out there?
Austin is happy, and we are extremely happy. So thank you. That's actually, I wanted to just start out thanking the council and administration for all of the support. It's hard for me to believe this is my fourth time going through this process already. But the things that have happened out there in the last 4 years really have been awesome. And I'm stoked as I look at revenues on this email that Jason sent out, that they're going the right direction as well. So I think we're seeing some return on the investments we're making into the facility. So thank you, and especially as Councilman Rowley mentioned, for that full-time assistant position. Austin is, as you all know, a phenomenal employee and just awesome to work with, and doing a great job and making Steve's life better, and we're moving.
You just sit there with the lemonade. And just...
I never see Steve when he's not down in a hole digging something. So I don't think there's a lot of lemonade, but that's right. I'm going to start taking him lemonade when I come looking for him. So I constantly go to the office to catch Steve, and I can never find him there. He's always out in a hole somewhere. So real quick before we go to questions on budget, just kind of an update on some things at the golf course. As you all know, you've heard year after year, irrigation is a huge need, but we really have accomplished a lot in the last 3 years as we've started working with irrigation repair. We've got a whole new central control system, which helps us monitor, control water usage way more effectively, which has been awesome. We got a new panel installed on our pump at the cemetery, a new pump house out by 13 green 13 tees for the back nine, which also has helped immensely with irrigation control. And this last summer, we redid all of the greens on the front nine with pipe, the HDPE pipe, which is the kind that it's not PVC. You don't have to cut and glue. It actually, yeah, yep. It's fantastic. It has a warranty. Steve and I will be long gone before there's a break on.
Love that pipe.
Oh, it's amazing. It is very, very good. And what's that? They do. Yeah, they play some golf too, which is nice. So I'm working on that relationship. So we're working on that, Paul. So no, we're excited to have a member of the community that makes that stuff, and it's really good. It's made a huge difference on our greens. Going forward, as I'm sure you can see, there's still a lot to do with irrigation. A pretty good number with what we've currently done, besides having better turf in certain areas like the greens that we've done and things, we estimate we're saving about 30% water from where we were 3 years ago, which I know in this valley is huge. So, and that number will get better as we continue to do repair. That being said, as I mentioned at the start, whenever I see Steve, he's down in a hole. We still have fairways and tee boxes that are galvanized steel pipe from 60 years ago that rusts and breaks daily. So with the tractor digging down, Steve, tell me if I'm wrong, but opening up a huge deep hole and then just getting some fittings, some PVC type fittings.
The Arizona method's to wrap a piece of old inner tube around it.
There's some of that in the ground. A lot of it is
You have to come up and state your name.
Sorry, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
It's so rusty.
might as well have him
connect to it very well.
You get to come out of a hole for a
Carter.
minute to talk.
Yeah, so we'll cut out the metal line, and then we used to just use PVC to fix it, but some of the lines are so offline from each other that you can't do that. So we've gone to using PEX or Tough Tube, and that just makes it really nice to fix because it's flexible. But we use some compression fittings for the iron pipe, and then kind of reduce it down to CTS copper tubing size. So
Thank you.
That's why I brought Steve for those questions. I see it, I just can't describe it. But yeah, it's a daily occurrence. That galvanized steel, I mean, as you know, as it rusts out, all it needs is a pinhole leak that starts up, and the next day you've got a big bubble, and it's a mess. So our hope is to go to RAP tax this year, to ask for some money. This year, we'd like to tackle all of the tee boxes, all the irrigation on the tee box. We realize that number is a huge number to do the whole facility, so we're trying to bite it off a little bit at a time. So, so that's a thought going forward. Go ahead.
You someday want to have another pond.
Mhm.
Where would it be?
So that is part of the master plan that was done, and it's between 1, 8, and 9 in that triangle right there. And it's a little bit for aesthetics, but it's a lot for water control.
Does
We
it
would
have
have,
to be lined?
yes.
Okay, with an artificial lining, it can't just be clay.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it would need
Where
it.
Fred hits his ball, though,
Is
you
that-
can't hit it over the hill.
You could use clay.
Steve.
You could.
I feel that we could use it.
You might as well just sit right
Sit
there.
right there and talk into this mic.
Aaron, did you
Yeah.
hear me? That's where Fred hits his ball.
I know.
You could use clay, but I think the artificial liners are by far the better.
Well, I was just thinking you might could get it for less than whatever 100,000 if you could. I mean, it's just a matter of having the guys go out there. They dug a hole that big in half an hour out there at the Lazy River today.
Yeah.
That's true.
A lot of bentonite out there.
A lot of clay out there.
Well, some of there's a lot of clay in the ground out there, because I know that when we have leaks, if you come back the next day, the water's still in the ground, you have to pump that out. So you might be able to just use clay and be able to do that.
You might just start with getting the guys out there to dig the hole and put something in and see what it does. I guess that would ruin your aesthetics if you didn't finish it out. But
Yeah, part of the issue with digging the hole and starting the pond and not finishing the project all at once is standing water just turns into a mess. So if
We do have 2 storm drain control facilities just to the east of the golf course. They might have some similar soil characteristics, so
good point.
we might want to work with our public works departments and get an idea of what's out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right over there by Thunderbird Garden.
Yeah, there's a couple of little ponds up there.
So just a couple other little highlights before getting into the mundane budget stuff. Tomorrow's our Rotary Scramble. The great thing I think about golf is we get the community together, provide them recreation, but I don't know what the dollars are that the Rotary Club raises for this tournament tomorrow, but it's a nice chunk, and I know those funds go right back into the city and to the kids and those types of things. So that's what I've always enjoyed about golf, is it's a great place to raise money. The city still gets their fees, so it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So that's tomorrow. On May 18th, and kind of in line with the program to make the city sparkle, We have a men's association. That's our regular men's night where we have 112 players each Thursday night. We won't be playing golf that night. We're going to do work projects. And the big one that we've got planned is when we redid the landscaping, and this will be paid for by the men's association. They have funds, so this isn't, but when we redid the landscaping in front of the clubhouse, which looks awesome, we ran out of money before we got plants and color put in. And so the men's association has some funds they need to spend. They've agreed to pay for that, and then we're all going to get together and plan it, and that should be great. So that'll be on May 18th.
Hey, what about the sign?
The signs are down.
Yes, you guys are awesome.
So, yeah, the signs are down. So we'll plant some nice shrubs there instead.
Did you get your golf thing put back?
I have always.
We just got that back
I've
from
always wanted that
Rainbow.
right in my
They
office.
reinforced it with some steel stuff, and it's just a matter of getting it hung up. But we got it
Really
back.
blew loose.
It blew. So there was holes, and then it just blew ripped the wood, the plywood right through. So they've reinforced the holes with some sort of steel that they think our wind won't affect, but I guess we'll find out. So I think that's all the notes I had written down. And then as far as this year's budget,
How is your budget? How is your course without prairie dogs?
the course is amazing without prairie dogs. Thank you. And, we see it in play. We see it in revenue. We see it in people stopping in from out of town that will flat out say, we used to skip Cedar City because of the prairie dogs, and we heard they're fixed, and it's great.
Work travel.
So, yeah. And the golf community, it definitely does. And I mean, we had people in just this morning. We had people in from Canada. We had people in from Arizona. We had, just they're traveling through, and they stop in and play golf and hopefully eat lunch and, shop at our stores or whatever, stay at a hotel. So it's great. Yeah, it's been a huge improvement in that way. The only small change, then the mayor and the administration are aware of it, but from when I turned in our budget till when the budget proposal came out, and Jason's going to speak a little bit about it, but we had a tractor in there for, I think it was 2018, 2019, because our tractor's 34 years old, and we knew at some point it was going to need to be replaced. We submitted the budget, and within a day or two, the tractor died and went to tractor heaven. So we had to move that up, and I believe it's proposed to be funded. The only change, which Jason and I talked about, is the number that was given, because it was so far out, was kind of a guesstimate, and it's a little bit more than that number by about $6,000. So he and I talked about that this morning. I wanted to give him a heads up.
Yeah, so as Jared said, we just kind of put that in during the budget process when the equipment broke. So we put in the number 25,000. We spoke with the dealership, and we were thinking it's probably 35,000 for the tractor. So I'll revise that. So we get,
and it is a state contract,
and we'll go on state bid. So,
and it's a tractor that gets used every single day. If it's not digging an irrigation hole, it's hauling things. It's and the other one gave us 34 good years.
Till somebody poured sugar in the gas.
I don't think that's what happened. But,
what do you mean it digs holes? Is it a backhoe you're talking about?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a small backhoe on the end of it, on the back end, and we use it to dig our irrigation.
But it
leads.
just runs off the PTO or something. You can change it out for a different implement.
We can put all sorts of different stuff on the backside. So
Okay.
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, we use it to do aerification and all kinds of stuff. So we don't have any carrying over capital or RAP tax projects. Everything that's been funded has been completed.
Woo!
So we'll take anyone else's money that doesn't want to spend theirs.
I was going to say.
So anyway, that was all I had. Any questions? Any I can answer?
Any other?
So that 161,000 that was RAP tax from last year, not needed to break even this year. I mean, it's not in there.
No, it's all been used. Yeah.
That was for irrigation.
That was the pumps.
Specific,
Mhm. Yeah, that was the just continuing work. At one time, 80,000 of that was part of a pavilion project that then we moved back over to irrigation because it was a bigger need. But yeah, that's all been done.
The pattern I'm noticing here is generally just that everyone's budget staying the same, except we're having to jack it up for the insurance.
For the most part, the operating ones, everyone's been staying the same. We have the capital ones. We have a few things here and there,
Yeah.
but for the most part,
Health insurance.
operating are the same. You have your insurance costs. And that was kind of something that we talked about with all the employees, is that with health insurance and things, we were going to put that first and then work on some of these other things.
Great.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other-
Well, thanks again,
Thank you,
everyone, for your
guys.
support. And just, I mean, you all know this, but I've got awesome employees. Steve and Austin and Tyler and Art are fantastic. And also Brian's great to work with too. So I want
He
to,
was apparently our unofficial prairie dog out there. He keeps digging holes.
Yeah.
he,
Doing the work that the.
thanks.
Thank you, guys. And Jared, thanks for getting the sign down.
Look at that sad bag of snacks sitting over there with nobody to.
Come on.
Oh, sorry about
No.
Mayor and Council, if I might, Chris Hudson's been lifeguarding today, so he's on his way. I was wondering if it'd be okay to
Why
have
don't we just
Larry.
have Larry go first?
Okay.
Mayor and council members, before we get started, I'd like to tell the mayor I've been trying to get the Iron Rangers to give me a representative, and they
Okay.
haven't given me anything
That
yet
works.
on it.
Then
So
we'll chat about that, figure out who, per ordinance, we have to have somebody on there from them. So if we don't get someone.
do you want
for
to
a
just
little-
put Jesse Wood down on it?
Jesse Wood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we have to, we'll change that. First of all, I'd like to thank my staff
Will
for
you send me
the,
their contact info?
pardon?
Will you just send me their contact info at some point?
You bet. Yeah, as soon as I
Perfect.
get back out there. I'd like to thank my staff and the arena committee and the support we've had from the city this past year. The one problem I've had out there is trying to find part-time help, and a lot of it's the hours and the weekend work, and a lot of it's the wages. I finally got me two good guys out there now, if I can keep them. So hopefully that's going to get me through this summer.
Is it higher than the $8?
Pardon?
Yeah, Larry's
Yes.
higher than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Thank God. I don't think I'd have anybody if it wasn't. Last year, the facility hosted a total of 37 events, which was a total of 53 event days. And that involved 5,700 participants in the events and about 55,000 in attendance. And that does not include the day use riders we've had, the winter events we have when they rope at night, or when the college is practicing at night. So those figures are probably low, but that, I think that's a pretty good indication of what we've done out there. And I've got $35,000 in RAP tax money, which is earmarked for asphalt on the east side of the Diamond Z Arena. I've talked to Jeff and he's going to get that scheduled. Hopefully we're going to have that laid sometime in May. If not, it'll be done in June, and that'll all be taken care of. We've got a new gator that is going to finish up my capital for last year, and I should have it probably by the end of May. And from what I heard before, it sounds like everybody's on the same page. There's not any change in my operating budget for this year. And I did apply for some capital items, and on a bet, I'm going to say this. I applied for 3 big-ass fans to go in the arena out there, and that's just exactly what they're called.
That's a technical term.
So
Okay.
that is what they called, and that's who builds them.
Here you go. Did you
To
win
be
on that
fair,
bet?
that actually is their name.
And then I also put in to get some bleachers, which was 50,000, and put in a new south entrance on the south end of the parking lot for ease of, getting for the bigger events for people to get out. making a right-hand turn going towards Walmart. The fans were roughly $40,000. I put in for 40. We've got matching funds from the Heritage Festival and the Livestock Show. They're going to each put in $10,000.
How many did you put in for?
3.
So when you look at the budget, you'll see a substantially higher cost. If you remember the day in council where Kit was talking about how to have the power necessary to be able to run the fans, we would have to do the light retrofitting and change the lights out to the LEDs to get enough power. That is why the cost is higher, is to be able to do the LED lighting portion to get the power to be able to run said fans.
Those are some big fans.
They are big fans. They're actually 24-foot fans. There'll be 3 of them in there.
24 foot?
24 feet. Well, each blade is 12 feet, so it's a total of 24 feet across. And I think
How far away do you have to stand to be safe?
they're just bare. We, myself and Brian went down to St. George and looked at the ones they've got down there, and they're just
they're
just
they're kinda
barely
like
turning.
those at Rocky Mountain Furniture they got down there, just giant
Yes,
things.
and they're great big fans. But they just
Okay.
barely turn. In fact, you couldn't even feel it.
The ones that have Costco.
Costco.
That's easy for you.
They
to
the
say,
same
but-
thing. The mayor kind of touched on that. When Kit came out to design that, we had Tony Barney there, and we was looking at what it was going to entail to put the fans up, and we was going to have to install a new power panel and everything. And Kit says, well, maybe we ought to look at LED lights. The guy was supposed to be there this morning, didn't show up. He's going to be there Friday at 11 o'clock now, it looks like. So we'll know something on then. But there was 128 metal halide lights out there, and we're figuring the payback will be in five or less years. It should be a 20 to 30% reduction in our power costs. So the payback's going to be pretty quick on it. And by putting the LEDs in at the same time, it's also going to reduce the price of the fan installation, because we're getting rid of one panel. We'll be able to use the panels that we existing out there now. And also, I think we're going to try to look at the outdoor arena lights, see if they'll take LEDs, and if they do, if we can afford that, do everything at the same time. What I would like to do is kind of get this as quick as we can. The power company's gonna, and I'm not sure how it is, the power company has an incentive or they give you some money. I'm not sure which Kit said, but
Rebate.
is that what it is?
So
Okay, they still have that program in place. So, and I'm hoping that I don't drag this out clear through the summer to where it makes the Heritage Festival and the Livestock Show people, because in the summertime, it's almost unbearable in there. You guys have probably been in there when it's hot. I know Paul's been in there during the stock show, and it's just sweltering. And so the quicker we can get the fans in, I think the better off we'll be, and it's going to improve the events quite a bit. And as far as that goes, that's about all I've got, unless you've got any questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I talked to you about the gate, my idea is it's all dirt from the parking lot clear out to the asphalt. Kit jazzed it up with a bunch of asphalt and stuff through there, which I don't think is necessary. I would like to put that back into the budget. I just see here I can get a 12-foot gate for $169. Do 2 of those. We just open it up about 30 minutes before the event ends, and people can get out there.
Are you just going to do swing gates? Is that
Just
what you're
2
talking
swing
about?
gates or whatever, and they can just drive. We just dump in some gravel, make it a decent gravel thing, and then they can get out and turn right.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to get dispensation from the Fish and Game. I know the prairie dogs have went back on the endangered species list, and it's loaded with them
That just even the width there.
all the way down it. In fact,
What's the cutoff day on that?
20th.
Yeah, we
Could
need
we
to,
get a road graded through there before the 20th? Just grade the road?
well, we still have to go through the process.
Anytime
to
you
get
grade it?
If
Okay.
you do stuff, you still have to
All
do
right.
that. But if they are there, I mean, we can work and see what we can do with them.
So the state DWR is still
On the
managing them
R15.
until the 20th.
Okay. Well, if it's possible, I'd sure like to see
I
that.
can go out to Fish and Game and talk to them tomorrow and see
Okay.
what they can do on it.
And you'd have to mess with your your watering system. too,
Yeah,
where you planted
we'd
some
have to do
bushes.
something with that.
That could be dropped down and over, made out of this rubbery stuff.
I know I've been getting permits to kill them out in the valley, and they're really starting to balk on stuff. So I don't know
Yeah.
how they're going to be, and that's ridiculous. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah. So, just a 24-foot wide strip right through there with 2 swing out gates. They open up at the end of the event. Then people aren't sitting there for 30 minutes trying to get out. It essentially becomes a single exit because you can't get clear over to that north exit.
Well, and actually, education is going to be part of it too, because there's actually 2 gates when we have the event.
Right.
And but as soon as they quit taking tickets, we go down and open the other gate, and the people that are there don't realize that gate's open, so they're all trying to cram in that
But
one.
you got your cars all lined up to exit the main gate. Nobody can crowd across and get over to that,
Yeah.
Anyway, if we had one that they could turn right, I just think it would make a better experience for the people who go there, and so that they don't say, I don't want to go there again because I'll get stuck in that mess.
Okay, let me go I'll go out to try to get the Fishing Game tomorrow and find out what the deal is on them. I know when I wanted to blade that, they wasn't too keen on that idea, so.
Okay. But as
And
far
if
as-
it was after June, we'd probably be okay. Right now is the time that they're having their pups. And right now is especially hard to get anything to, after the 1st of June, they kind of cut loose on
But
it.
as far as Kit, he engineered that with asphalt and all sorts of stuff there. It just needs to be dirt because they drove the whole parking lot across and it's just another.
Well, we've got enough pea gravel that we could probably make it. So, I mean, if we had to water that, if it has got something on it, it's going to be a dusty mess. And if we water it the way it is now, it's just going to be a mud hole. So, okay, I can check with
If you
them.
look at the prairie dog part and then just let us know with.
How much longer are you going to stick with us?
I don't know, at least 3 weeks.
That is not an acceptable answer.
Probably a year. I'm looking at a year, and it just depends. I was having some real bad back problems, but I've done some stuff in the last couple of weeks that's kind of made a difference on them. And
Really? Like what?
I just had a massage.
Oh, really?
And it seemed, I don't know whether it's muscles or nerves or what it was, but it's done some good on it, and I haven't had any
Maybe we
pain.
better get a city masseuse.
Yeah, we can do that. I can put that.
So anyways, are there any other questions for?
No, just a lot of thanks for all that you do out there.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Larry.
I mean, if we need key person license.
Larry,
I will need it all.
after you talk with Fish and Wildlife, or except for it's not Fish and whoever, I can't even think. Will you get back with
Paul?
Bittman and let him know kind of what they say so we can see? And since 2 of our council members left first, can we have a short break really quick? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'll
if
do
you
that.
let
No,
that,
I'll try-
if
in
you
fact-
let him know, then we can see how to proceed with that with the
Okay.
budget.
Okay. Break time. Okay. Those M&M peanuts are evil. They are evil.
Fred's right. It only costs.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw Aquatic Center, I got thirsty.
But there's a big discrepancy between Fred's estimate and Kit's
This hasn't been that contentious
Not yet. We still have Phillips.
It'll make your life exciting.
Emergency stuff? Yeah. What? That emergency?
Have access to my. No. Well. Yeah.
Oh. Maybe I don't want to.
Go online and find it. It was in yesterday's paper.
Okay, I will.
Doug, when are you gonna go look at some water stuff?
You know, I was gonna do that before I came here today, but when I went down by Mr. Bubbles to cross the road, they had an accident down there. And there was 2 ambulances and everything. And I said, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll call you. I was waiting for you last night, but you were in with the mayor for so long.
They could yell.
Blue spots flying out the door.
I hope I get there someday. And now, I can yell at someone from halfway across the pool to stop me running and they stop.
When you asked her whether that was.
There's a difference.
Can I take a Twizzler here, guys?
Have them all.
No, I don't want them all. I just-
The nagging.
It's a big difference.
Well, and it's funny too,
Well,
because a lot of my life goes.
Tournaments are not.
Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle.
That's the downside.
And I hear
I
about
really care, and I want a lot of press involved in that side of it as well.
You didn't have to.
It's not all.
Shake your head, they're like. Yeah. Okay, I know what I was doing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got it.
About what I want. Snickers, Milky Way, Twix.
That's the winner.
Super caramel.
No, wait, why?
Because it tastes extra caramely. As opposed
Simply
to,
caramel.
it tastes the exact same. They just package it some other way so they can sell the same product.
When are you gonna relax
And
again,
get a whole new
Paul?
clientele.
When it's all flowing for a few days?
We're
or-
not, we're the end and we got all set up, I'll relax.
I don't know the real difference, but I still like it, so we go with it.
Well,
I want to
Which one
go
are you
see if I
looking
run
at?
that Dozer for a couple hours this
He took
afternoon.
down the signs.
That's what I grew up on. I run a DA class since I was 8 years old. All through high school.
It's a Milky
What I
Way.
do every day.
That's some kind of therapy.
I love it.
And according to the mayor.
That's what really my
has more
love would
caramel,
be. Buddy Clip.
But she said
Second
it
job
tastes
just
the
doing
same.
it.
It's fun.
They run it.
I'm sorry.
They all should say fun size.
Back in the day, we had a DH, no open, no cab, you know. And we would, in the wintertime, we didn't have any heat. In the wintertime, we would turn the fan blade around, blow the heat into a tarp and run it back into our turbo. To heat our turbos with, with our heat. That was a redneck heater.
We've got it.
Look at all the mayor.
Finally got to sit.
There's a whole, do you
Some
guys
working
want
on the
this
way.
one over there too?
You got your
Here.
jam in, you got your stuff.
How's that one over there too?
I'll just take a handful.
Oh, an almond joyous.
All I know is
That's the answer.
bless Mother Wilson.
I want some of that.
Delivered.
I want some of that nuclear honey.
Who's Brother Wilson? Rich or your mom? Oh,
If you're having, I said Mother Wilson, if you're having. a
Mother
bad
Wilson.
day,
I thought you said
just
Brother
dip
Wilson.
Your finger in the honey and have a nice lick. It will make everything better.
I was called Brother Cousins.
Hey, I used to take, when I was a
One of
swimmer,
those orange.
I used to eat big spoonfuls of honey before a race.
I will never.
And it would
eat-
amp you, oh man.
Yeah, I will never eat the nuclear honey.
No, it's a treasure as it is.
Exactly.
Oh, at the Republican
Oh,
convention,
see,
at the
you and I keep
Republican
passing that
convention,
back and forth.
Alma Adams called me Brother Cousins from the stage. I said, in our culture, when you forget somebody's first name, you just use brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Are we,
It was
yes,
funny.
we are all good. So let's, are you good, Brenda? Okay, we will now go to the aquatic center.
Oh,
Mayor and council, glad to be here. Sorry, I was a little bit later than I wanted to be. We had a school group there of a bunch of first graders, so we were making sure they didn't drown. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm the aquatic center manager. So just to, to kind of get everybody up to date, the aquatic center is doing really good this year. We have been seeing increased revenues as well as increased attendance in certain areas. As of pull this up here, as of April 30th of last month, our day pass admissions were only down by 80, but the revenue was up by almost $20,000. So, and that's because of the time of day that they're coming in. Plus, we did do a fee increase of about 50 cents. So that has made huge dividends in the amount of money we're making up there. We did see just, again, a slight drop, as always happens when you have a fee increase, but from a day pass perspective, that wasn't a lot. We did see a significant decrease in membership attendance, so people that have memberships that attended. However, we saw a significant increase in the number of memberships purchased. So again, there we're up about $8,000 in membership sales. So all in all, as far as actual attendance goes, we're down just about 1,900 from the previous year. But again, revenues are up almost $30,000 just in those two line items. So we're doing good things, and that is also attributed to us opening the pool for a little bit more time during the day for lap swimmers, for adults and seniors to kind of come in during those times, and those times obviously bring us a little more money than the evening hours of 6 and 7 p.m. when everyone doesn't want to pay full price for the last hour. So that being said, first off, I'd just like to ask if you guys have any questions for me right off the bat. Nothing? All right, sounds good. As far as this year goes, we have a few projects we're trying to finish up. I'm heading up the project to finish Yeti's three of their projects, which are the sidewalk to finish out towards the parking lot, some curb and gutter and sidewalk. I'm just waiting on Gleave to tell me whether they can fit it into their schedule or not. They're very busy right now, and I don't know if they're going to have time at which time we would then, of course, take it out to bid, should that be the case. And then also we have just that closet that we were trying to get walled in for those guys, that changing room area. They've got the mats, they've got the benches in, but they just don't have it walled in yet for those guys to use so that they have some privacy. So we're fixing that up. I do have quotes on all of those, and we will be proceeding within the next few weeks. We have just at the aquatic center, we have our outdoor deck fence, which I have gotten the quotes for. I've gotten 2 quotes. I'm waiting on a 3rd quote so that we can get that process started as well. I do know Thunder Welding actually still has some of the old fence that they did from the original project. So if they end up winning the bid, of course, we would end up being able to get that a lot quicker than maybe the others. So we're going good there. We do have some wrap tacks from previous years that we are using for ADA doors. We're hoping to redo and use some existing budget that we have already, operating budget, to replace all those front doors. They currently break quite often, and we're hoping to be able to replace those with some sliders, some sort of storefront like you'd see at a Walmart or a DI or something, where as you walk up it just slides open so that kids aren't pushing on it, and then we'd have a decrease in the amount of friction on those doors. So we're on that. As far as that one goes, that one does have to go out to bid, so we're going to be submitting the bid process for that one fairly shortly here. So for next year, our budget looks like it's about staying the same, with just some standard increases for things like insurance and whatnot. So we didn't really ask for much else. We did increase the budgeted revenue because we're expecting, of course, to make a little bit more and hoping on that. But as far as things that we requested, Mayor, I never actually saw a list of what this. It looks like there's $8,000 in capital outlay equipment that we're proposing, and I don't know which one of my $8,000 items it was.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Get to that.
We just to let you know, what we did propose was for some.
I can tell you. So where we with this one, and it would be easier to get to this sheet.
Flow
'cause I
meter
have-
replacement.
The flow meter replacements are what we had proposed to be funded. The other ones we had talked about, the pool drain, where that one.
Yeah, I've got that list. I can go over it if
Yeah,
you'd
so
like,
there was that one, the lobby door replacement, all of that. Those things we were still waiting with the wrap funding and all of that. So the one we proposed and the one is the flow meter replacement.
Yeah. So we had requested for replacement of our flow meters, and what those do is just make sure that the pool chemicals are running, and they help assist us in knowing what's going on with the pool, so that when we come in the morning, we don't have a green pool, or we don't have, chlorine levels that are exorbitantly high, and we just don't know about it till we show up in the morning. So those flow meters are really nice. The new ones, they're all connected to a phone. You can monitor them from far away, and it lets you know before anyone else knows that there's a problem. So the current flow meters we have, 2 of them are actually from the old pool here where the middle school was. So they do need those two at least need replacing, and then the others are starting to show signs of wear as well. So those we requested those, and those were what was funded. So. And then I guess that's pretty much everything that I have. We do have another project we're hoping to do. Brian, actually, this is kind of Brian's brainchild, but it's funny you should mention massages. We actually are looking at getting some massage chairs. Brian went to FitCon and they have this whole pro forma done up.
The chair we need.
Yeah, it's true. I did think about changing a couple of those family changing rooms into massage rooms that we could do, but I don't know how well that would turn out. So, but these chairs are actually really good. We can get them for almost 25% off is what it's looking like. We're not 100% sure yet, but at 5 massages a day, our yearly gross would be an extra just about $4,000, $36,000 to $38,000. So, and that's if we only do a 4-minute massage. So if we do like 10-minute massages, we could potentially make upwards of $30,000, $40,000 extra a year just on those massage chairs. So it's something we're looking at doing. And if we have excess funds towards the end of the June month, then we'll see about getting some of those. So any questions you have for me?
Thanks, Chris.
As in what regard? Oh, yeah. So as far as part-time labor goes, I will say the hard part about the aquatic center is I'm not selling a widget. I'm running services. So when I have classes, that costs labor in order to generate the revenue on those classes. So we are running a little bit hot. However, with the increase in revenue, it's showing a match. So those are some things that we're constantly looking at. Of course, I can always use extra. It's hard to keep kids that, the constant battle I get is, oh, well, I can't work just this job. I have to work another job to make enough money to make it worth my while. And then they'll go to a Zaxby's or wherever and get $10 or $12 an hour. And they realize, well, I can actually work that job by myself for the same number of low hours, but I make a significant amount more and I don't have to keep 2 jobs. So I'm sure that's the same story you've heard everywhere, but that's just kind of the economy we're in, where things are starting to open up and people are starting to open up. And so it's hard to get people in. We're doing okay, but right now we are strapped for lifeguards. I'm the only one right now currently that can run the classes. I haven't had time to run an instructor course to train more instructors. So getting kids in is tough because I'm out lifeguarding sometimes to fill in because we're short people. And then I don't have time to run classes to train more lifeguards and get them in. So the nice thing about running those classes is in addition to getting personnel, we also get money for it. So we do make a little bit off of each person that comes in. So they are a revenue generator also. One thing that is nice not this last year, but in the previous fiscal year, 14-15, I was able to go and get certified by the Red Cross as an instructor trainer. And what that means is all the local instructors in the area, every time they have to update, they come to our aquatic center to do that. So there is some opportunity there to do some update classes, training classes, and charge a little bit of extra money and bring that in as well. So those are just a couple of things that we're doing. We already have fees built in for those, but those are just a few money making ways we're trying to keep the place afloat, and of course just keep it a great service for the community. Keep it going. School groups are in full swing right now. We've got them coming in, and we think we've smoothed the process out. School groups they're able to either find buses or do their time maybe a little bit earlier in the year, whichever it is. I will say, and this is mainly for Fred, that the buses are the big issue. We got the time, but we don't have a bus, and now we've got a bus, but we don't have a pool time. And
the school district is run by the bus gods.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah, so that's something that they constantly express their frustration on, because they'll call us, they'll schedule it, then they call the bus yard and they can't get it, and then when they can get a bus yard date, someone else has already scheduled the date they can get. So it's just a constant battle for them, and I feel bad, but we are pretty much max to capacity, so
Super.
Been good.
Knock on Formica, but does it seem like your pumps are holding up? And
the pumps are actually in good condition. We do inspect those. I actually go through and inspect those quite frequently, so our pumps are doing okay. Our heater is holding on. The pool heater it's holding on. Our air handler seems to be doing better. We did do a very large overhaul and fix on that air handler. We also have a certified maintenance guy coming twice a year to offset what we're doing for maintenance to make sure that we aren't spending, thousands and thousands of dollars.
One of the little things that they were looking at one time in St. George is putting a natural gas powered electric generator next to the aquatic center down there. The natural gas itself, the force of it helps drive the generator, and the generator makes electricity. And then to cool the generator off, you run a heat exchanger with the swimming pool.
Wow.
Through that. So you get kind of a three-way advantage going there.
Was that like a backup?
Yeah,
That's our
but
backup?
you would run it all the time.
Oh.
Yeah. So anytime natural gas is flowing through the line, it's just generating electricity, which is also
Electricity
generating
and heat,
and then
which
you
use for the aquatic
yeah,
center.
and then
Maybe
you just
something
constantly
to-
run your water over it to offset how quickly the heat
maybe
exchanges.
just worth looking at to see if it pencils out to be a money saver.
Do you by chance know who was looking at that? Which entity?
Herb Bosso of the Parks Department, who's since that day, he doesn't work with them anymore.
Which entity? St. George City.
Or the Sand Hollow
Sand
Aquatic
Hollow?
Center.
Yeah, Sand Hollow.
I will see
did
if
they put it
I'll
in?
see if they have any.
They didn't.
That's very interesting. I'll see if they have anything, anything on that. I was actually approached by a gentleman who says he's invented a heater called a friction heater that uses the head pressure on your pump to create friction and heat as well. He actually would like to test his heater with the aquatic center. We haven't really gone anywhere with it because he wants to cut some holes in the main trunk pipes, and I'm like, well, I'm going into my busy season, so I don't know if that would work. But he has drawn up an agreement that he's hoping to, where he would say, we would be responsible for any problems, any loss of revenues, anything like that, while we're testing the item. So these are things we can look at and of course try to see.
Really, that's a huge part of that whole operation, or the utilities.
Yeah, utilities and labor are really the two that get us up there. If we didn't have those, we'd probably be making trillions. So
Has he got a proven track record in his business?
this particular
Behind that problem?
the thing is it's a gentleman that the product doesn't have any track record, and so that's why I've been kind of hesitant. As far as I know, no. He's just a local inventor. So yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't really pursued it much. So
Does he have a large bond he can post?
yeah, exactly.
Have him
Exactly.
try it out on Bittman's home pool first.
It's plastic.
They don't put pumps on the kiddie pools.
When the sun's out, it warms up nicely.
Why don't you state your name? Come on, you're good.
Yeah, I have one question I'd like to ask as far as
No
the
need to
aquatic
state your
center is
name.
concerned.
Doug Hall.
Doug Hall.
Hey, thanks.
Doll.
I know I've asked this question a couple of years now. Have we really looked into variable speed pumps for the aquatic center?
So right now, thanks Doug for your question. So right now, the demand for our pumps is such that we can't ramp it down because we have to maintain a constant turnover rate in order for the health department to allow us to operate.
Well, you can ramp it up is what makes a difference on demand.
Right. So what I'm getting at is we have to keep the pumps at a certain hertz. They
He's
can't.
talking about starting them up slow, ramping them up, and that saves on demand.
Right. And those
If they're going,
particular.
you can go.
Yeah.
So
And
you're saying they're running full force all the time?
yeah, they have to run at a certain number of hertz all the time.
You never start them up; they're always running.
They're always running. They have to in order for the pools to operate. Because if we turn them off, then they're not disinfecting, and the health department says we have to shut them down. So even if we have a pump go down, or if the electricity goes down on a pump, we have to remove everyone from the water
maybe we could
immediately.
save some money if we made friends with the guy at the health department.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as that goes, to answer your question, I did look into it because you did ask me about it, but the health department does have regulations on that, and it's based on turnover times. We could ramp down the turnover, or could ramp down the hertz on the pump, but then the turnover time drops. And so the turnover time has to be constant in order to turn all the water over and make sure that we're filtering everything in a proper cycle. So, and they go through all that when a pool is put into place, and I don't know all the math behind that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's a lot of pools that have been able to use variable speed pumps and show significant savings
Really?
in electrical
And maybe I'll look into it again and see, and see if maybe there is some leeway that we can.
That's one of your big cost
Mhm.
drivers, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know like for our outdoor pool, it does have to stay moving, but we do drop the hertz on that one quite a bit when it's not open. So it does move, but it's very slowly to keep it from freezing. So, but we do have to keep water in it because it is a vinyl lined pool. And if we remove the water, then we got a bigger problem. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to fire.
Oh, boy.
The timer is starting.
Timer's starting.
We've
I
all-
see that we're starting like 20 minutes ahead, so.
You got people
Yeah,
headed
you
to
got some-
Georgia?
That doesn't mean you get the extra 20 minutes.
No.
So that we got told this afternoon that
Where
they,
are you, by the way?
oh, Mike Phillips, Fire Department. I was just answering his question. We got told that they canceled the request for him just because of the time it took to get there. So, but we're still on the national board. Florida's burning. She said chances of us getting out are pretty good. The fire season started early this year.
Florida in the summer to go to Disney World, man.
It's too hot this time of year. Anyway,
Somebody to carry back.
good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'd just like to echo what the other staff have said, that we appreciate the support that you've given us this last year for the fire department and your continued support, going on to this next year. I'd just like to highlight a couple of our 2016-17 accomplishments that we've been able to do with your support. We made it through our ISO audit and maintained our Class 4 rating, which was great. We continue to improve our out-the-door response times with the new rapid intervention vehicle. We've strengthened our relationships with emergency responders during our large-scale airport drill. You saw a couple of weeks ago, we graduated a new recruit academy of 9 recruits, so bolstering the staff back up. We completed our wildland business plan this last year, and we finished all the capital items that we were funded last year. That was a good point for the mayor. She was happy to hear that. We've made progress in our cancer prevention program with our firefighter cancer rates. It's a big national trend that everyone's looking at because of the cancer rates among firefighters. They're around their neck where they put their Nomex and their turnouts, so washing, drying, and turning that stuff over. We signed the statewide wildland protection cooperative agreement, and we were able to pay forward all of our in-kind costs for the fiscal year 17-18, and we're actually working towards our fiscal commitment for 18-19 right now, so we're moving forward with that. We've adopted the Slicer S fire attack model, which makes it safer for firefighters. And then we've also strengthened our partnerships with our federal partners. I've just brought a handout because Mayor likes colors and handouts, so I'll hand this out real quick. Thanks. So what I'm handing out is just a look at our supplemental wildland program, just to let you guys know where it ended up. We just made a little over $94,000 last year from the program, about $26,000 in expenses, which gave us a net profit of just shy of $67,000. You can see how we divided the money out. $34,000 went into the capital reserve account for future capital purchases, and you can see the other layouts. And then there are some grant fundings. The EMPG grants, how we're paying for a lot of our wildland work that we're doing in the mitigation work. Some miscellaneous reimbursements, that's like hazmat cost recovery and stuff like that. The State Forestry and Fire State Lands grant, and then some private grants. So that's kind of where we've been and where we're going. As far as our budget is concerned, our operating budget's staying pretty close to the same. There is the add-on for the tires to take care of those tires, so we're continually replacing them.
I was gonna give him a little bit of what that means.
That's equipment maintenance, 8,000.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So that's just the projected cost to keep
For
our
that-
tires replaced
For
over.
that thing out at the airport?
No, that's all of our tires.
Okay.
Those tires were $13,500 for that purchase of those tires. So yeah, each. So if you look at our engine, you're about to do the $8,000 will
put tires on an engine and then a small vehicle annually. So it's to try to keep us within
So
that
you're just on
NFPA
kind of a
standard.
rotation thing on
Yep.
that. Okay.
It rotates them and then they'll go down to Public Works at the end of their life at like 7 years. They'll put them on their truck. Corey said he can wear them out in 6 months, recap them and get a year's life out of them. So that's the intent of that. Then there's the 3 capital requests in there. The one is
What's the telephone 2,500?
that's to cover the hot spots that we placed in our rigs so that when the crews are out doing their inspections, it also brings up the computer-aided dispatch. And that just made it so they were more efficient when they were out of the
So
station.
you just have cellular hotspots in your vehicles.
Mhm.
And then the insurance, what went up there? What happened?
We bought 2 new fire trucks.
Okay.
And that was the insurance increase. Any other questions on operating? Sorry. Then on the capital, there is the replacement of our Rescue 1, Rescue 11 truck, which is a 2004 truck. It only has 12,000 miles on it. It's actually in pretty decent shape. The idea behind that is to replace our 2004 Ford that has 121,000 miles on it. It'll move out. We'll put a flatbed on it. So that's that replacement vehicle for $4,000. And those are the capital expenses that have been approved. Any questions?
I would like to say that probably of all the departments, the chief has been most innovative in finding ways to economize, efficiency-ize, improve the situation with
Revenue sources.
with less funding, but it just shows that innovation and ingenuity and looking for opportunities to save money and make the situation better. I just commend you. I think you've done just a great job in giving the citizens the best bang for their buck that they can possibly ask for. Thank you.
Item number 4 and 5 that aren't funded, we were able to get out of the current year's budget. So that's the airbags and the
Capital
hose.
allocation from wildland suppression.
No, it was actually money in the operating budget that we had that we were able to move and purchase the hose and the airbags.
It seems like you've got that capital accumulating too. If you need it.
Yeah, so that capital is going to a reserve account for future purchases of apparatus.
35 grand or 34.
He's thinking way bigger than 35 grand.
I understand.
I mean, like,
I understand.
So how does this work? You ask for 80,000, we give you 66. What happens there?
So what happened with that is we were trying to buy a diesel vehicle that we could pass down. Based on what its whole life's going to be, probably 80% of its life would be driving like a gas pickup truck. So staff didn't feel that it was appropriate to buy that vehicle where most of its life wasn't going to be in that place. So just by cutting that diesel out and putting it into a double cab, saved a whole bunch of money.
Okay. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
That was Paul's doing, not mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well,
There you
Yeah,
go.
you-
Gold
All the
star for
kudos.
Paul.
All right.
Um,
See, it's teamwork.
And we worked between these two and Corey and the whole big fleet plan to find.
Oh, yeah,
what-
it's all part of that.
It's all
Yeah.
part of the big picture.
Yeah. So these will be painted white so they can be passed down in the
It
future.
just goes along the same thing I've always said. You can build a pretty building for about the same price as an ugly building if you just think about it and design it. You know, use your head and don't just carry on like normal. Yeah.
So what is that out on the horizon? What are you accumulating for?
So as far as the capital expense line item,
Yeah, giant ladder truck.
no, we got one of those that'll last for about 35 years.
Okay.
The next item that we're really looking at is a Type 4 engine. It's about half the cost of a Type 1 engine. Type 1 engines, the big engines that are like almost 700,000 now. That's kind of where we're looking in the future, but that's down the
Okay,
road.
so I'm still got this nervousness about the 4-story building thing in the town, whatever. Can we get enough points other ways that if we go over that, we don't have to get another ladder truck or what? Where are we at with all of that?
So in the last audit, we went closer to a 3 than we did a 4 based, and they looked at the current buildings we have. So as we move forward, we just have to find a lot of the smaller points that we can pick up. For instance, the
the seasonal hires that we hired, they'll be out painting hydrants, flowing them, and doing the color coding. That was a big item that we were deficient in this last audit. We hadn't flowed our hydrants in the pressure zones, and we couldn't prove that the model that engineering had matched what was actually in the field. So as we move on through the summer, as they have time, we'll go and flow those hydrants, and then we'll look at painting those hydrants, hopefully before our next ISO
Paint the
audit.
whole hydrant or just like a colored stripe around
You
it?
color code the top of the hydrant
The top.
based on the color, light blue, red, orange, or green, based on the pressure that's in that system. So when you drive up to it, you can look at it and say, this is the flow that's available.
And then Doug Hall's going to drive around the whole town and write down every color.
That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Doug needs to
drive.
get a life.
Walk.
He'll walk around.
He will walk the town.
Yeah,
Did you have a
my
question, Doug?
mistake.
Yeah, I have one question.
But you have to still state your name.
Doug Hall.
Thank
I did notice on the revenue side that Iron County decided to give us a little over $32,000 less this year in our fire agreement. I'd kind of like to know the reason for that.
I don't know the answer, Jason. Is it just because? So it's just based off of the billing on a 5-year cycle, and it's based on the average number of fires that we have. So as the numbers of fires go down in the county, the total contribution from the county goes down.
And
So they don't pay for any infrastructure, just buy it per fire basis?
That's just so it's just
Currently,
per
that's
episode.
yeah. Currently,
So-
that's how it is.
And this is one that we briefly mentioned with Councilman Cousins today. The way we used to provide fire service is different than how we do it today. Everything was based on the runs and all of that. And so and that's been the agreement we've had in place forever, pretty much. So we are looking at revising that agreement to come more in line with the real way we do fire service now with the prevention and all of that, and then taking that before the county.
Another thing that new proposal would do, it would flatten out these peaks and valleys. So the graph wouldn't look so jagged based on runs. It would probably be a flatter, neutral source. It wouldn't have so much.
Well, it looks to me like, the way it's structured now, they aren't contributing anything to the amount of infrastructure that we have to put in place in order to protect them.
You are correct.
Is that correct?
You are correct.
That is
And so
correct.
we've been working on it for how long, Jason? 9 months or so. It's been a process. If you'd like to see the big spreadsheet, Mayor said I can't show it. I'm just kidding, Mayor.
You can see it, but you're going to want a Excedrin migraine by the time you're done with his giant spreadsheet.
Anyway, the proposal will be coming to you in the next couple months, and we'll give you a presentation on how we're actually billing now. And then the proposal is to base it off of the property tax rate. So based on the area that we protect, we take their tax revenues based on the area protected. So Enoch, for instance, is like 8% of our protected taxable value. So then they would be assessed like 8% of our operating costs. So it takes the fire stuff out of it, because fires are unpredictable. We're doing a lot more things that we weren't doing in the past, a lot of fire prevention stuff that doesn't get captured in that billing. And so
Good. No, they ought
I've been
to
working on that for a while.
carry their weight.
So you say, Mayor, everything else on the capital requests that don't show being funded were funded with this year's?
No. Just number 4, the airbags
Oh, okay.
and the hose.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was number 4 and 5
4 and 5.
were funded with this one.
Okay.
Chief's working on trying to buy the smoke evacuator out of the current budget,
Okay.
current year's budget. But he told me he wants to get closer to
the
to June to see if he's got enough in there.
And your radios, you're looking
That's
at.
the Ward no spoke R31.
Yes.
Yeah, the old Ward no smoke.
Can't you get the R29 for just a little less?
That's the truck number, the R31.
Oh, okay.
The other two items that are in there, the one is the SCBA's, and that was more of an informational to the mayor and staff about the future costs and the radios. And we're looking at some federal funding and grants to try to take care of those. So it was put on there as informational, and then we'll move forward with this next year's AFG grant cycle and see if we can't get some of that funded.
All right. Any other questions? So yeah, and just to, nobody's going to Georgia.
A long ways to drive a fire truck. Man.
3-day drive
So
there and
Midnight-
back.
You can take the midnight train to Georgia.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was, it would have
Down Route
created about
66.
$45,000 worth of revenue for 21 days, but there,
that's a long ways away.
long ways away to drive.
Would wear out your tires.
Um,
Like the city
any other
manager
questions?
Out in the dirt.
I'd just like
Your
to,
shoes.
really, my staff is what makes the department. They're a great group of guys. They are hardworking and awesome. And when the fecal matter hits the oscillating fan, that's how you say it politically correct. They really jump to the gun and work. And we see that we're reducing these response times. We had a fire Saturday that was in a wood pile right next to a house, which is a bad place to store your wood.
Was it your neighbor?
So the neighbor actually hopped over the fence and took a garden hose to it and slowed it down, and the engine was able to get there. And talking to him, they said it was like 2 minutes away from burning the house down. So those out the door response times are really making a difference.
Wow.
And they're the ones that are doing it, the staff. It's not me.
The station looks nice. If you guys wouldn't physically attack me every time I go over there, that'd be cool.
So what Fred's referring to is he got in the middle of a race with a second grader and me, and I haven't lost a race yet. It's like they always ask about the pole, so instead of talking about the pole, I just have a race with one of the fastest kids in the class. I always beat him, and Fred came through the door as I was going through the door, and Fred got accosted.
And then and then I stopped by the preschool show and they set off the fog, the klaxon.
The horn right next to his ear. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
We had a fire drill at my office today. It was painful.
Yeah.
That thing is so loud.
Tom Jett, thank you for spending your additional spare time. Hope you take that with the
Calling it
tongue in
spare
cheek
time?
there in this. So it's always neat to see the process in order. Our fire department is so efficient that they were almost passing the police officer on Saturday going down Main Street, and he was going full speed. And they were right on his tail. That's how efficient these guys are, and it's pretty darn exciting to see that. But regarding the fire department, I have the utmost respect for our firemen, but I still think we should consider, and I've spoken to Mike over the years of my thoughts on this, Chief Phillips over the years on my thoughts on this, and we probably have some fundamental differences and concerns. But other communities have started charging for, just like the ambulance, when the ambulance comes to take someone. Our fire department, I believe there's some opportunities like we do with forest fires and interlocal agreements with the other agencies that we can start considering charging for a fee for those structure fires. I believe insurance companies are not going to balk at it. I don't think they're going to say, maybe we shouldn't have, we shouldn't have come, because I think Mike Phillips told me once that for every minute a fire doubles. I think am I correct on? Doubles in size every minute. So I think insurance companies would be more than happy to kick in a little bit to say, thanks for saving us 50,000 instead of, the
You
total.
seriously underestimate the insurance companies.
Well,
Tom.
That's right there.
I
Willingness.
Who's your insurance company?
It's the good hands people.
Sign up.
Are they the same way with premium?
No, but I just think it's something that there should be a conversation in the future, and I hope that conversation ever comes up, that you guys would be open to the concept and open to the thoughts. If that, I think it's a great mechanism to help self-fund an organization that's helping save certain individuals money in this. Thank you. Sorry for ambushing you.
No, you're okay. Now that Tyler's
Someone
here, we
call
can
Steve
quit stalling.
Decker and get him.
We're going to do Tyler instead.
Okay.
We're just going to
All right.
rotate
Sorry.
through the other ones.
Just to answer what Tom said, Mike Phillips, before the mayor gets mad at me.
We can bill the insurance companies on fires anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 or 3,000, depending on the insurance company. We've always looked at that like insult to injury. Once a person's had a house fire, in the past, we've looked at it as they pay their taxes. They've paid for the service already. There's no reason to hit them again and raise their insurance. So that's there. We can do that, but in the past, we've never done that.
And that's all we can get is 1,000 to
Thank you.
3,000. Huh?
Okay, then we will, are there other questions? If not, thank you guys.
Thanks to the mics.
We will go to legal.
All right.
Good
Waiting
afternoon.
all day for.
So you should have in your packets just the one page there that basically just goes through where we're at and what we're expecting to be at for next year. So if you look down at the numbers for subscriptions and membership, traveling and training, office supplies and expense, those numbers have all dropped. But the reason for that is just with the difference of moving some of the employees from legal over to administration. So that's why a few of those numbers have dropped. Other than that, everything is consistent with where it was last year. Our professional services, that $20,000, that's $18,000 of that goes to Candace Reed, who does a public defender contract. That gives us a couple $1,000s extra in case she has a conflict and we need to hire outside counsel to represent some of the defendants. When it comes to the criminal side of the office, things are fairly consistent. Randall files on a little over 400 cases a year. Those would just be the cases where individuals get a citation and decide they want to fight it. But other than that, any questions?
The insurance, the employee insurance, 42% increase. Am I looking at the right thing there?
Yes.
I just wondered why.
Oh, yeah.
I know legal think they're
That's
extra special.
When I
Our former,
when I came on, I required the same insurance I had in Canada. So that would
that's in Canadian.
I guess right back at me.
don't care.
Our former administrative legal assistant had a single coverage or perhaps no coverage, and
So it's like
now we have a family coverage there for our new person.
we don't
Bittman was
we
living
don't
on the
begrudge you
edge.
that. At all.
Yeah. Okay.
We're excited about that.
Tyler, we're glad to have you on board.
Yep.
Thank you so much for all the good things you've done for us.
Thank you. I enjoy it. This has been one of the best decisions I've made. So
very good.
Yeah,
Wow, you've been
thank
here a
you.
whole year.
Yeah.
He's still saying that.
It's been 8 months.
Yeah, see that? Good. No.
Okay.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, we will do admin. You ready to go? Do you want these? Do you want me to, I hand these out. You can hand those out?
Did anyone tell Steve
Can
that
we,
we're way ahead? Has anyone called him?
Can you get a child of yours to
See.
buff up those shoes?
Yeah, he'll, I mean,
Mr. Cousins took us out this morning, Paul Bittman, city manager. Mr. Cousins took the mayor and I out to the West Recharge Project along Highway 56, and that where the dam was having some problems, and Mr. Cousins reinforced it. The soil is just like dust. It's so fine. It's silly.
I hate those damn problems, you know?
So we passed down
Calling him.
a copy of what staff has requested for fee schedule increases. There's not much there. There's one for cats and a couple for the airport. So please look at those and we can discuss those during council meetings when you have a pertinent question. We have the pertinent staff here.
So, yeah, so don't we look at those rates on a full schedule periodically?
What we've charged the different departments with is the rates and the fee schedule kind of correspond to the different departments. And we've charged them and said, when you're putting your budget together, if you want to change fees and rates, this is a good time to do it.
Okay.
Sometimes councilmen, they come in the middle of the year and ask for it then as well, but we try to get them most at this time of the year.
Okay.
Admin's budget hasn't changed much. There is a $10,000 increase in there. The purpose for that increase is to finish off some SCADA projects and some projects in this building as far as getting the wireless updated.
Okay.
And then there's another little bit of that $10,000 that we want to use to bring in some training opportunities on all of the technological equipment we have. So we would ask different companies to come down and do a half-day training on certain software or hardware.
Paul, we got a few just minor repairs. The handrail's loose going up the stairs and tightening it up, and the doorknob on the men's restroom needs to be fixed.
Yeah. We've got the building department runs this building's, there's a fund to fix those things. We can get them repaired this year.
Mr. Decker tells me he's leaving now.
As far as a possible, another item that's not in your budget, you don't see in there is we propose $50,000 to do a impact fee study update. And we had talked earlier this year about doing that for a couple specific purposes. One was to get fire trucks included in our facilities plans. And the other one was to look at effluent recharge opportunities and see if there's some ways to do some RAP tax, impact fee funding for those.
That would be sweet. How much do we have that's kind of, that we need to kind of use up?
The biggest one was transportation.
Can we use that for that or?
No. That's going to get used up on Westview Drive, most of it.
So are we able to use all those impact fees?
At the library.
Yes.
Like in the
It's either
in a time frame?
done or committed, isn't it?
Yeah. So when we looked at impact fees a year ago with the audit, we had some impact fees for storm drain. Those have since been spent on the Cross Hollow storm drain expansion. We had some impact fees creeping up for parks, and Brian's come in and presented some options to do those for some trail expansion. We had some impact fees creeping up on streets, and that's why the Westview projects in your budget this year is to spend those down so we stay within our limits. We're still going to go ahead and plan on doing the impact fee update, even though it's not in your budget. We'll come back for a budget revision once we have actual numbers, and the whole update will be funded with impact fee money. So there's a funding source for it available. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about administration?
What about if you have a locomotive leaving Chicago?
What time? And how much go math am I going to have to apply? Thank you.
Another one leaving, going the other direction.
What time will they crash?
Oh dear. Leave it to our math
And we
teacher.
have called Steve. I just had Barbara call Steve and tell him that we're ahead of.
Texted him, he said he's on his way.
Yeah, so we're good.
But he walks.
No pressure, but he's standing between us and the door. I just.
Yes, and it, yeah.
I think we all should hide.
Let's turn off the lights and hide behind the
Yeah. Have ourselves a drill, duck and cover.
Oh, boy.
He walks in.
2:15 is our last one.
It's a group called Anonymous. They put out a thing today. They've been getting all intercepting all sorts of traffic. North Korea thing or this and that. They said
Let's see, where have I got it?
Today would be
World War
a bigger hurdle than
Japan
yesterday,
has
because
been
yesterday's all the
given
enterprise.
10 minutes to get into a building before a nuclear attack.
Okay.
That's the drills in Japan. They're saying you have 10 minutes to get into in Tokyo.
I was thinking, Mr. Rowley would have some Texas elevator music for us.
In my head, it was like 300.
China. Well, they said they yeah.
I mean, it's just built into the
That
budget.
ICBM test Minuteman III
Smile, Ron.
We launched them in the Pacific.
Man, we're not getting there fast enough.
When we were in China adopting Bradley.
And when they start saying, well, we start revenues 30,000, it's like, okay, 30,000 is good.
It's like,
Yeah, they
it's like spitting in the ocean. Oh, dear.
Closer, it'll never be self-funded.
Let's do it there. It was right there.
They shouldn't have this kind of stuff sitting around.
I know it, because I can't use this.
I'm gonna have to go to the gym for hours this afternoon.
I gotta get some protein.
Just like
Oh, my sugar level is like way off the chart.
They talked about how
You came back because you don't want to be in 150-degree temperatures.
Well, that's part of it. Refugees coming in and how
Who takes care of
they've dropped. One of the guys that lives in the Australia. I mean, these guys have been collecting all this stuff.
This afternoon, I should
It's
drink.
just come together right there.
North Korea is just.
We get some
All of
protein
them,
shakes that are at Costco.
And then they
Plus,
said,
you've got a
key things coming. And they've got 2 satellites going over here every day.
You shut your water down?
North Korea.
Partial.
I, I've got a full text.
Yeah, well,
Banana.
for all we know,
I don't like bananas.
for all we know, it's already on.
Bananas are
You
one
don't
of
have
my
any way of knowing.
favorite
In the dark age, they're already there, so they don't care.
That's why I told Robbie he needs to have
It's redo.
circuits and parts for all these.
I haven't.
Faraday cage.
It's like like a banana at all. And
It's too unique of a flavor.
You ran out of water in town
Cities.
with one of those taps?
Well, the thing is, you gotta have,
It's down.
you gotta have a power source to operate them and it goes out.
Mine's
They
down
look at
about,
you like you're.
Are you rolling up?
Talking about that stuff. It's
all right. It's well below.
Steve.
There he is, the idol of American youth, Steve Decker.
It's you.
Take the podium.
Councilman Rowley's just teaching
It
the
is
others how to
you.
read.
Well, good. You don't have to do that anymore. You know, you can listen now. Good afternoon. Sorry for holding you up.
You're so efficient.
Yeah, you guys. How often really is it that an elected body goes ahead of
I
schedule?
know.
Never. Oh, you still have to state your name.
Oh, my name is Steve Decker. I am the director of the library. I'm here to represent the library and the Heritage Center. Jason is not feeling well today. He just wanted me to convey that really the only change to his budget was a request for additional personnel that would simply meet the increase in demand for the facility. Other than that, apparently
Those are
his is held fairly.
Those are temporary helpers, right?
Yes.
It's just more stuff
Okay.
so he can do that.
So tell me this, does the increase for demand pay for the salary to cover the increase for employment? I mean,
It's,
Yes.
position.
yes.
Thank
And
you.
they're up to about 700 events. They're projecting 700 events over there this year.
Wow.
Great.
Up from, if you give me
Great.
2 seconds, I can even tell you what they were, which, I mean, that's what we charged him with, was to get things up. They went from in 2010, 353, and they're projecting 700 events this year.
So they've doubled in 7 years.
Very good.
As for my budget essentially reflects.
Can we do one
Oh,
other thing
sure.
really quick with them? The one with the Capitol, the lobby paint that was requested for that, we have put money in the operational budget so that he can get the lobby painted and do the ongoing maintenance type things that he needs to do with his building. So
Who's the libraries?
No, this is
The
Heritage.
That's what this
the
16,000 here is.
16,000, it was funded, but it's funded in operational
Okay.
so that they can have that to do that, and then the other ongoing maintenance-y type things that are happening with the building.
Was the bridge talked about?
No, I think that's the county.
The bridge is the
That's
county's.
counties
I think Mr.
again.
Brinker is very active.
Still just as dangerous.
Still look crap. I mean, the water, just looks like from water where the sheetrock's pulled again.
Is that in the stairway going
Yeah.
up?
They were doing work on that
They-
now.
Or
Yeah,
they-
I think last time I ran into Brinkerhoff, he said they were doing something on
I
it.
saw some Western Red Cedar sitting there. Are they gonna put wood on it? That'd be a great choice.
I don't know what they're doing.
That gentleman's been there for off and on for a couple of weeks.
'Cause I love the smell of that wood.
Ah.
You smell it every time you walk in.
Yeah, I have
Spoken
no
like
idea.
a true cabinet maker.
It's a wonderful smell.
I understand.
It smells like
Do
a
you-
sharpened pencil.
Do you guys have any other questions with the Heritage Center? No? Okay.
Getting close.
Okay, library. Library's budget essentially reflects the additional money that we've received from the county as a result of the agreement that has recently been signed. It also reflects an addition to the department. Currently, we have the literary arts under the library. We have performing arts under the Heritage Center. And we've proposed this year a small addition for a visual arts component in the city. And that visual arts component would work to assure artistic displays and traveling exhibits and those kinds of things in the library, the Heritage Center, Festival Hall, here in this building, the Aquatic Center, and the airport. We're currently working on a relatively small project, but one that's very necessary at the airport to get the Cedar City display case changed. That should be changed hopefully by next week. The reason I say hopefully is I have a convention next week that I'll leave Tuesday for and won't be back till the week after that.
What are you going to do to make it better? That's a really cool display.
But it is, we're going to put in bigger rocks. And
We're not talking about the main, you know, the one in between the terminal and your baggage claim. That's the faded one that has the rock display and the dead bugs.
Oh, okay.
That's the one we're fixing.
and these are not pinned bugs, that
No,
are
no.
identified. They're just dead bugs.
They're just dead bugs.
We have been working with Rainbow Sign to fix that, and that'll be fixed. Just I approved the send approval for the backdrop in it today, and that should be up within 2 weeks, depending on how it falls with my conference. If you have questions, I
When
would
we
be
talked
happy.
about the display apparatus part from the TRT, it's for partly to go along with all of this of getting displays and keeping it. So there's the stuff that when you go that helps promote our other facilities and makes things not look like we have dead bugs in our display cases.
You know that I have two things that I still am hoping that are
Concrete.
The concrete, the little strip along the east side of the library is about this wide and it's full of colored rocks. And all that happens is the rocks get scattered everywhere all the time.
So if we concrete, Steve just spent quite a bit of money over there to fix the lights that shine up on the building that are down in the rocks.
They're in the rocks.
And if we concrete that area, when we got to fix the lights, we got to rip out.
We'll
the
have to tear
concrete.
out the concrete.
Well, no, you build little boxes like you do your sprinkler boxes or something. Wouldn't that be possible?
Don't know. That's one concern that
Okay.
staff brought up is
The second thing we have is that there's actually a little hole between the outside world and the library that you can slip a book and just march on out without.
That has been corrected.
That's been corrected?
That is corrected.
Okay, very nice.
Is that in the building?
That's in the building. There were some holes in the wall that were decorative, that there's a sign on the outside and then there's a hole in the wall behind it. And you could slip a book under or a DVD or whatever under that sign and then walk around the security and then pick it up and walk out. And that has been corrected.
Because that's the way my mind works.
Mischievous.
Comes from working
I
with
got some
children.
great movies out of the deal.
You'd make a good auditor.
So, yeah, that one has been corrected. The other one, our concrete blanket contract is an individual out of St. George that is quite busy right now. We'll try to get a hold of him, see what it would cost to do that. And if there's anything we can do to mitigate, the issue around those lights. But if we concrete them in, they have to saw the concrete to get them out at some point, that could be problematic also.
Mayor, may I ask one quick question?
No.
Make it a slow question. We got 45 minutes.
Yeah,
We need
come
to
up.
stay.
Just state your name.
Not getting.
I'm Jet.
You
Um,
have to refund some work on it.
I'm confused. We're talking about, Steve's over the library. You also are the airport and the.
No.
So about a little over a year ago, 2 years this budget year, we put the
long?
festival hall and the theater under the library for managerial
If it comes
purposes.
through
What Steve's
into
proposing
these-
in his budget
into one of
is to add some part-time help, and they're going to take care of visual displays throughout the city,
So there's one person.
except for wastewater treatment.
Yes.
They get no displays.
Yeah. So there would be one person that makes sure that those are up to date and we are promoting the facilities and we're doing where they do the grants for the different traveling displays from the Smithsonian and all of that. There would be a person that would help do those. And so we don't get to the point where we have a display with dead bugs in it.
And that would be,
Clarification, I was a little bit confused.
that
It
would
would
be
be-
one 28-hour person, one hourly person.
So it's,
Carrie,
yeah,
have
all of a sudden, Steve, yeah,
I was a little
he's
bit-
over the airport. Hey, look at all that. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
I was a little bit confused.
Thanks, Steve.
Anything else? Thank you.
The what?
they have revenue.
Oh, up on, oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, that's our ongoing increase from the county.
The council might remember we got a chunk of ongoing, we signed the contract with the county for the library tax. And there was a chunk of money that was ongoing, and there was a chunk of money that was to pay back some that they've should have paid over the last couple of years. And we've put the majority of that late payment money into a library fund, a library capital fund. We're not proposing to spend it this year.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn if anybody felt like it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. So be it. So let it be written. So let it be done.
100 Mother Day
Yay.
flowers somewhere.
Well, that's a good idea. Okay. Well,
No, it's
that's a
one.
laborious process, but it's a very
Yeah,
good
it's,
process.
so they
Yeah,
will do
it is.
displays at all of the
Yeah.
facilities and just somebody.
You had
that will
indicated
rotate
you
things
had
out,
some
do nice
other
ones to promote
ideas and
our other
whatnot.
areas and all of that.
I got some
And where we
information
have
from
the library,
Steve Hyatt
theater,
on the
and an
ULCT,
arts
and I'm going to go
component
home
all
and
under
forward it to you
the
guys
one
again
umbrella
like last
of-
night.
I
Yeah.
I need to formalize.
Mhm. And then things can be tracked and we can have the, I mean, it's one of those where that way there's somebody who has ownership.
They-
and-
He already did. That's what I'll forward to you. So,
And maybe we need to make that part of the record.
I love our airport, except for the dead bug display. So we're getting the dead bug display fixed.
Certainly don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
no,
And with all the other towns and cities in the state. I think my
Okay.
case in point would be, let's say the state decided to impose a way to deal with Airbnb. I don't think that's a state function.
Oh,